Okay, we're good to go. Go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Quality of Life. Sorry we had to move the meeting up a week. Normally the third Thursday. We'll go back for next month. I'm Pat Moore, chair. Mariama James is on. She is the co-chair. And Lucian Reynolds is on, our district manager. So tonight is every other month we have the DDC come and tell us about projects that are going on in our community. So I don't know who wants to start the ball rolling. We've got lots of projects that are still going on.
Hi, good
Hello.
evening, everyone. This is Marlene Nunez, the Borough Outreach
Hi,
Coordinator from
Marlene.
Manhattan from DDC. Hi, Pat. I believe Frankie is here. He can speak to several projects within CB1.
I think Frankie's muted.
Frankie, can you hear us?
Sorry, we do have Walkman here. Walkman, are you able to connect?
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay, thank
Hi,
you.
Walkman.
Hello, how's it going, everybody?
Hanging in there.
Yeah, just want to talk about our big project, Worth Street, real quick. We have still working on Church Street. We're working in the middle section of Church Street now. And we have some utilities, as always, we have to move out of the way and stuff like that. But we've got our water main across the western part of the intersection. So we're moving along. It's slow moving, it's a slog, but that section is still scheduled for the end of this year, hopefully, pending Con Ed utility work. And the other location that we'll be working is on Broadway. And there was some water main work that we had to do there, but we're talking to DEP about it. And since the federal building has got that whole area excavated, we're trying to see if maybe we can not do it because they're in the way, but we have to see what DEP says. But I think that that location will be finishing up for us sooner. It'll still be opened up for 26 Federal Plaza for, I'm not sure how long they're going to be there.
I'm sorry, Walkman. Not do that work at all, you mean, or just delay
no,
it?
we have most of our water main done at the intersection. There's like a hydrant or something like that that we're supposed to put in, and we're not sure if, right now we're discussing it with DEP, and they might say if it's a newer pipe or something like that that's in there, we might leave it, or they might tell us to take it out. But at this point, I think that intersection is getting closer to being done. And there is still some utility work we have to lower down there before we can do final restoration also. So that's a little work. And we also just did the sidewalk over by Chatham Towers. So that's another thing that's been done recently. And that's pretty much it for the Worth Street project. That's kind of like our two really crunch areas, is Church and West and Broadway. But Broadway's coming closer. We're getting near the middle of Church Street, so hopefully it keeps processing over to the other side. One thing we were talking about is that the Borough Bike Tour, I think, is in August. And
22nd.
22nd of August, and we're hoping that they don't tell us we have to close up the intersection.
They will.
They will.
Oh,
They
If
will.
they tell us to close it up, that means we have to backfill it, pave it, and then have the bike tour, and then redig it all up again.
oh my God. First of all,
Hey,
that
Walt,
would
didn't we solve this last year, or not last year, but 2019? We figured this out.
I'm not
They
sure
can't
if
do
it
a
was
detour?
2019 or what, but back a little ways, we had the bike tour, and what we did was we put steel plates over it and paved over the steel plates. Except that was only where we had trenches. Now we have like a wide open excavation that the plates won't hold. So we
They
can't
can't do a
that.
1 block detour?
Well, that's the 5 borough bike tour. I don't see DOT changing that. I don't know. We can request
I
it.
mean, you're only talking about going, so if they had to do a detour, how many blocks would be involved?
Well, it would be that one block, but you'd have to come up West Broadway and shoot around us or something like that and come back onto. I don't know. You know, I mean, we've
Lucia?
tried to have a detour before and they've always said no. But
Definitely try.
Yeah.
Do you think we can all
Yeah.
get wrapped up into an email chain together? Can I work with you on that?
sure. Yeah, I'll get my guys to send an email chain out to start one and say, you know, this is what we're doing, and in the, you know, if this bicycle tour goes through Church Street, we'll have to backfill, blah, 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 and how much it'll delay us and all that stuff.
Yeah,
And then we can
do
send
you
that
have
to
any
you.
idea of how much money it would cost? Could you
Yeah, we
estimate?
could probably estimate that. Yeah. get
Okay,
an
and
estimate.
then, so the money and the time,
Right.
let them know, especially because the city, we're all, you know, money is an issue now, everyone.
Right, exactly.
It seems like it'd be a lot easier to just detour it for, you know,
I
a couple of
understand.
hours. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Can we do
Instead
a
of,
joint resolution asking for it, like transportation and quality of life? We
Yeah.
ask for it?
Betty?
You know, I think that this is, you know, this. I don't think you need a resolution. I think I could just get on the phone with them and start working on
Okay,
it.
Okay.
sounds good.
Yeah, that would be very helpful because if we have to backfill, that's going to throw us back weeks because we'd have to excavate all again, all by hand, and that's very time consuming, very expensive, you know. So
Yeah, and
if you
again,
could help us
money.
with that, that would be very good.
I think we should join forces. on
Otherwise,
that.
you know, that'll kick us into probably next year sometime.
That's the other thing, the neighbors, I'm sure the neighbors
Yeah.
would rather put up with a couple of hours of a detour than extra time on the project, you know?
It's not the neighbors, it's the bicycles because there might be like 30, 40,000 bicycles.
No,
So
no,
they're
no,
gonna
I mean,
line up on
the
Church Street
neighbors
all the
who,
way down.
right, yeah.
So
All right, so
it's gonna,
that's good to
it's
know.
gonna take some thinking and planning.
But we've got like, not that long, it's August 22nd.
Yeah,
So-
that's why I figured I'd bring it up today.
So start calculating how much it would cost tomorrow. So you
Okay,
can,
we'll get on it as soon as
Yeah, yeah.
possible. Yep.
thanks, Welkman. All right, so I'm sorry I interrupted you. Anything else?
That's pretty much it for this project. I have other people that I'll be talking about like some of the other projects. Dushyant, you
So
there?
before we go on to
Yes,
the other
yes, I'm here.
projects.
Okay,
Yes,
hang
Hi.
on.
I'm here.
Okay,
Before we go on
Okay,
to the other projects, can we just ask the committee if they have any questions about this, about Wall Street?
sure.
Committee? Chime in, no one? Okay, we're gonna go on. All right, so let's go on to the next project.
Go ahead, Dushyant.
Yes, good evening. This is Dushyant from DDC. I'm talking about another project that is reconstruction of West Street. And this is only the remaining item between on West Street between Varick and Hudson Street is the roadway restoration and just doing the cobblestone. And now we are waiting for the change order registration, and that should happen sometime next month, I believe. And
Oops.
then we are going. The contractor will start working on the restoration and cobblestone. And at
Sorry,
this time, it
this
looks like
is-
the.
There's a,
Can you hear me?
Liz?
Hello?
Okay.
Yeah,
Liz
I fixed
muted.
her. I fixed her
No,
mic. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Continue.
I'm sorry. Can you kind of repeat
Okay.
it? You were garbled. I know you said cobblestone between
Yeah,
Varick
cobble-
and Hudson.
Yes. Between Varick and Hudson, that's the work remaining. The concrete base work is also remaining. But before we do the concrete base, we need to fill up the old sewer. And the change order is waiting for registration, and it should happen sometime in July. And once it's registered, contractor will start. And still, we are hoping that this project will be done sometime in August at this time.
So completed. Now, I'm sorry, was that the complete, that was just completing, filling up the sewer, but when is the cobblestone
No.
part gonna?
No, once they fill up the sewer, then they will start right away the cobblestone, half a block at a time, maybe north or
Okay.
south. And then 3 weeks of curing, whatever the work is being done. And then the project will be complete sometime in August this year.
Wow, great. 3 weeks. Okay, so before we go any further, Mark Amoruso, are you still there? Mark? Okay, I know Mark wants to probably ask about
Yeah.
cobblestones.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay, what was the question?
I know you probably want to ask about the cobblestones.
Yeah, you read my mind. Yeah, it's hard because I'm not visualizing, but we don't want the same thing to happen. What's happened on Greenwich Street and the poor, shoddy workmanship. So how are we going to avoid that again? Cobblestones disintegrating and coming apart, the concrete disintegrating in less than 10 years. When you have streets like Vesey Street, Vestry Street, that has 100-year-old cobblestones, and they're actually in pretty good shape.
Hello, this is Walkman again. On Vestry Street, we saved some of those cobblestones that are reusable, and we're going to clean them up and reuse some of those cobblestones. But obviously, not all of them are reusable. We're also going to be buying new ones to mix in with them, so that, you know, because we're missing some.
But
Mainly
Walkman,
because
part of
they're
the
damaged.
problem was not just the cobblestones themselves, not just the quality of the cobblestones, but how they were laid or the material that was used between the cobblestones.
Yeah, the installation of the cobblestones, how can you assure us that they're going to, that the same thing that happened on Greenwich Street and other streets is not going to happen there with the disintegration of the concrete, the deformities in such a short period of time? What are you going to do different than what was done different before so that doesn't happen?
Well, to tell you the truth, I wasn't around when Greenwich Street was done. I didn't work in Manhattan at that point, but I don't know what they did there. I can't really say. All I'm saying is that the contractor we have now, he's got a subcontractor that specializes in doing cobblestones and pavers and whatnot. So,
Who is the subcontract?
I think it's called BIB or something like that. I'm not sure.
Can you
Yes,
get
yes,
us that?
BIB.
Yeah, it is BIB? Okay, it is BIB.
Yes, BIB, yes.
Yeah.
And do you know who did the job 10 years ago?
No, that was before my time. No, I
Is
don't
there
know.
some
I
way to
couldn't tell
find
you.
out who did the job 10 years ago to make sure it isn't the same contractor?
Yeah, we can find out. We can look into it, sure.
Would you please? Yeah,
Yeah.
would you please?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
you're
you can check
talking
into the history of that.
from where
I
to where.
think the main problem was that they didn't they used too much spacing between the cobblestones. If you see the old cobblestones, they basically butter the concrete in between, as opposed to having almost a quarter-inch thick concrete in between, which when vibrations and trucks and whatever, even just cars go over it, it eventually shakes it loose. That is one thing. So if you can get back to us on that, and when you ask the subcontractor if that's something they're going to consider. And I also think that they didn't allow the concrete to cure long enough before they opened up the road to drive over. So if you can get back to us on those two things on what the subcontractor how he's going to address that, please let us know.
Okay, I know for one thing, the curing time.
Sure.
Once the area is fully grouted, all the grout in between the cobblestones is done, there's going to be a 3-week curing period. We're mandating that, so he's going to have to wait 3 weeks before he puts any loads on it. And,
Okay.
open it to traffic. And then what he's going to do is once he opens it to traffic, then he'll do the other side of the road because we're not
Okay,
close
so
to Benson Street. So.
then what about the spacing? Just take a look at Greenwich Street now, and you can see why the bricks, the cobblestones are coming loose. You can see how thick it is in between cobblestones, how much concrete they used in between.
There's a distance in between the cobblestones, the distance between
Yeah.
them. Okay, we've
Yes,
also
yeah.
had some problems with that on other projects where what happens is the cobblestones aren't perfectly rectangular. You know, the edges aren't like flat. So you can't
You
just
know,
butt them up really close, but you can get them as close as possible and you grout in between them and you get that grout in there. And that's basically, you let the grout set for 3 weeks and that's one of the criteria that we're using with this project.
It didn't work for Granite Street and the side streets,
Well,
so.
I don't know what they did over there. I don't know if they cured for 3 weeks or not before they put any weight on it. I couldn't say.
If
So-
you can look up the spec, it was called the Harrison Street Project. And
Harrison?
that was all, it was part of it. It was called, I think the title was the Harrison Street Project. Maybe the community board can get you the project number. But if you
Okay.
can just look into, we don't want the same thing to happen. So the reason why we're harping on this so much is that we love the cobblestones. We're happy to get them. We're asking for them for years. And then the contractor did a shoddy job. So, and the evidence is simple. It's next to a street that's 100 years old, that's in pretty good shape, and this street was less than 10 years old and it's fallen apart. So, you know, that's all the evidence you need, that it wasn't done correctly.
So what is
Gentlemen.
the street that you're saying is 100 years old? That's next to it?
Vestry is, the
Oh,
cobblestones
Vestry.
have been there for a long time. Yeah,
Okay.
a long time. I mean, there are a
Okay.
few depressions here and there, but I mean, you know, and also they do, in the middle of the street, you notice they do a straight line of cobblestones in the opposite direction, which probably also helps with vibrations and moving. It makes it as a little bit of a stabilizer. I don't know if you noticed that.
Well, I know we did a
Planning.
lot of cobblestones up on the Gansevoort area below 14th Street by 9th Avenue in that area, and we had pavers and cobblestones in that area, and they came out really well. Although they weren't done by the subcontractor, but we're using the same type of strategy that we did up there as down here. We're going to be using down here.
Yeah, because if you look at Vestry Street, you'll see that there's one straight line of cobblestones in the middle of the street, in the middle, just going straight up. In other words, they're turned 90 degrees, and they're just one on top of another straight. And it kind of acts like a beam to stabilize, you know, back and forth motion on the street. So,
Disperse the load.
obviously
Okay,
they knew
guys,
there
I
was-
just want to let me jump in really quick. What is when the project's delivered by the contractor? How long do you all have before you can, you know, you have no more option to claw back, you know, send them back to redo it or claw back the payments?
Payment.
How
It's usually an 18-month guarantee period.
Okay, so somewhere in that guarantee time, after the project's complete, let's say like, you know, 6 months or something that where we know that the street's taking a beating, or you know, or we can do some research and figure out what the right amount of time is. Would you all go on a walkthrough with us to see if the street is holding up within that clawback period? So if we all notice during the walkthrough any sort of major deterioration, that you all, you know, we all are on the same page that you can take it out of the contractor?
Well, we can, you know, repair the locations, but the other thing is usually we do that walkthrough at near the right before the 18-month guarantee, though, so that way you see anything that's, you know, up to that point, because if you're at 6 months, you might miss stuff that'll happen 10 months or 15 months down the
Right.
road.
Can we join you for that walkthrough then, especially Mark?
If you'd like
Maybe
to.
like an earlier one, maybe not the most official late one, but like if you just can give us a little walkthrough to just point out things that maybe we should be looking for from your eyes. So if we see anything, we can let you know before the end of 18 months.
Yeah, we can set that up, sure.
Okay,
Yeah, you
great.
can always
Thank
reach out
you.
and we'll coordinate that. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, yeah, so,
just don't wanna-
thank you. Can you just follow up with the staff with regards to the subcontractor, that they are aware of the previous mistakes made with the Harris Street project, which was Granite Street and other streets, and that they're aware that they're not going to do the same thing? If you just get back to us on that.
Okay, but like I said, you know, we don't know what they did back then. I don't know. You know, I wasn't
Right.
there, so, and I
Yeah.
don't know if this contractor knows.
No,
So,
Understood.
Well,
Bob.
let's
Understood.
just main thing is let's just make sure it isn't the same subcontractor.
Yeah. Sure, sure.
Okay,
great.
thank you.
Okay,
So
Lucian, you're
now,
fine.
sorry, Mark. Continuing.
go ahead, Dushyant, keep going. Dushyant, you're still muted?
Yeah, this is Dushyant. This is only, this is the West Street. The Warren and John is, Lucian, I sent you an email that project is completed and finally accepted by the city. And the Bogadas Plaza, that is also complete, and the ribbon cutting was last month on May 27. So that's all for all 4 projects. Anybody has questions regarding the Wall Street or Warren Street, Bogadas Plaza, and West Street, you are free to ask me the questions.
Anyone? Committee? I think not. I think you're a go. Doesn't seem like there are any questions.
Well done, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Are we on hold, Lucian?
No.
Okay.
Okay,
Next.
I think Frankie Lau is on the line. He can do a little talking about some of his projects. Frankie?
Hi, Frankie.
Hi, Pat. How are you? Hi, everybody.
I'm doing well.
Sorry about before. Internet
It's
kicked me
okay.
off. So Front Street, status quo on Front Street. We're still moving along. It's still a slow pace. We're still working on the utility work. We're out of the old slip intersection. We moved forward. We were in the Wall Street intersection where we encountered a lot of high interferences throughout. There's a lot of shallow utilities. There's a lot of unmarked utilities that we've encountered. So, it's been very slow. We can't just go in and rip things out because we don't know who those facilities are going to affect. So that's been slowing us down as well. We just resolved with the Con Edison their steam issue in the intersection of Wall Street, and right now they're moving towards They're moving towards Maiden Lane, and my guys just told me they encountered another set of high facilities. It looks to be Verizon. They're going through a Con Edison manhole, so they're working to resolve that issue now. But schedule-wise, we're still holding on to June of 22.
June 22?
Yep, as of
Okay.
right now. But again,
Yeah.
Everything's been so
You'll
slow because
Right.
everything's extremely high down there, and what we're putting back, we're putting back a lot thicker concrete than what's there now. So
Right.
we need to get more room. We need to move a lot of things out of the way to accommodate that.
Right. Okay, so you'll let us know if there are changes in the schedule, you'll let us know.
I will let you know.
Thank you. Anybody from the committee with any questions? Or the public for that matter? Any questions? Nope. Okay, Frankie, that's it?
That's the only one I have down here except for Greenwich. No new updates about Greenwich.
Okay.
As far as I know, it's still looking like fall of this year to start.
Okay. To
So
start,
that's
right.
that's
yeah.
the latest I have on that.
Right. Okay. You'll let us know again.
I will keep you updated.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next.
That's all we have for the infrastructure projects for DDC. I believe there's other members of DDC to speak on other projects for CB1.
Okay, so before we get going on the other projects, Lucian, I'm sorry, I couldn't get to that email. What was the address that they were boring holes in the street? Oh, no, I know what it is. Never mind. I just remembered. Okay, that's another project. So thank you, everyone. Are you sticking
Thank you,
around?
everyone.
Are you guys sticking around to hear the other projects, or you're leaving?
Is that public buildings?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
Walkman,
Public buildings is next.
you're dismissed, Walkman.
Come on, Walkman, you can stay.
Hang on, I haven't heard Roberto talk in a while. Let's bring back some memories.
Yeah,
Alright,
no,
but oh my
Okay,
God,
well,
you guys can
those
leave.
those who
We're
are
done.
leaving, goodbye and enjoy your evening and thank you. And those who are staying, we'll continue.
Okay.
Okay, moving along. Who is next?
Lucian, did we send you the final deck? Or if Pauline Claremont, who's on one of the participants, can get control?
Yeah, I'm gonna give the control over.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry, what's the next project?
Borough-based jails program.
Okay, great.
And then after this meeting, Pauline, if you could send me that deck for our archives, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Yes, we'll do. Sorry, Lucian, we were making some last minute changes. So hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Margolis from DDC, Community Affairs and Intergovernmental Affairs. I'm joined by various colleagues, and a few of them will be speaking as we go through the presentation. I just want to highlight a few. Becky Cloth, who's our Associate Commissioner, excuse me, for Public Buildings Construction, and she's running the entire Borough-based jails program, all 4 boroughs. Pauline, who you just met, is from our PMC AECOM, Program Management Consultant AECOM. Roberto Acevedo, who I know has presented on the infrastructure side in the past, is here with me as well. And we also have some other folks from the AECOM consultant, including Peter Hall, who is going to be speaking about some of the construction mitigation efforts that we're putting into the procurement documents for this program. So first off, we have an agenda, of course, but I just wanted to say something briefly. I know this project has some strong feelings. We are here as DDC and AECOM today to really speak about construction mitigation. I know there's a lot of questions around this project, but our goal tonight is to really try and give the committee an opportunity to hear some of the things we're trying to do to lessen the impacts on the community. Any construction, I know you speak to our colleagues in infrastructure and every other month, I guess, Walkman and team. And I know it's disruptive. We all know that, but our goal here tonight is to really try and demonstrate the thought we put into trying to lessen that disruption. So
I'm sorry, Jeff, can I just interrupt you
Please.
for 1 minute? Committee and public, I just want you to understand that this discussion is only about construction. We are not going to be talking about design or how you feel about the project. We're only discussing construction mitigations, noise mitigations, all of that. So please, if you have any questions that do not relate to that topic, you have to go to the committee. I'll refer you to the committee that you can discuss it there. Okay. Thank you. Jeff, proceed.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. So yes, that I just wanted to set the table there, and we can jump right into it. So the program schedule, of course, which I know, wrong direction, Pauline. The schedule for Manhattan, of course, there's 4 borough-based jail facilities. We're talking about Manhattan tonight. This is the current schedule. So we split up the dismantle and the design and construction of the facility into 2 separate procurement packages based on the feedback we received from the design and construction industry. We have 2 levels of procurement. This is a design build contract for both. So we have 2 levels of procurement. One is an request for qualifications. It's essentially a notice to the industry that we want to receive their feedback and to see if they want to participate. And then what we do is we whittle that down to a select number of firms, generally 3, in the RFP process. And then ultimately we select one of those firms and we issue the notice to proceed. So as I mentioned, there's two parts here. The dismantle request for qualifications went out in February of this year. The dismantle request for proposals, so the whittling down to the smaller number of groups, went out in April, just a few months ago, and we're now actively reviewing those limited number of proposals from the three selected firms, and ultimately we'll pick one of them to move forward on the dismantle work, and we'll issue that notice to proceed at the end of this year and anticipate that construction would start in early 2022. At the same time, we're putting together the procurement documents for the facility itself, for the design and construction of the facility. So we expect to issue the request for qualifications, as it says here, the third quarter of this year. So towards the end of the summer approximately, and we can come back and give you updates as that moves forward. And then we would whittle it down and release the request for proposals in the fourth quarter of 2021. It's a very accelerated schedule. And then we would expect, once the firm is selected, they would start their design drawings, and we'd of course come back to you and show you their progress in 2022. And ultimately, we would have notice to proceed for the construction essentially at that point. We would have that in first quarter of 2023. And then did I say that correctly, Becky? Did I explain that last part correctly? I'm sorry. Or anyone from AECOM?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Completion by third quarter of 2027.
Thank you. And yeah, as it notes there, that was in the RFP, in the ULURP commitment, which was modified slightly based on the delays we had from COVID. Towards the end of 2027, third quarter would be when the completion of the facility is turned over to the Department of Corrections. Next slide. And what we tried to do here is, as we mentioned, we tried to take a look, and we put a lot of text in our slides, so we recognize that it's a lot of information, but what Peter and Becky and Nina are going to do is try and give you the highlights, and of course we can answer questions that you may have. So this is not an exhaustive list of all the things we put into the RFP for mitigation on construction, but we tried to categorize it, as it says, requirements to minimize noise, requirements to minimize vibrations, air quality requirements, requirements to control dust, requirements to minimize construction transportation impacts. We know that trucks coming into a neighborhood is very impactful, public safety requirements, and work hours. So that's the high level overview, and then we're going to go into a little more detail for each of these sections. Next slide, Pauline. If I turn it over to Peter, if you want to jump right in.
Good evening to all. My name is Peter Hall. I'm the construction project manager here with the PMC. The requirements that we have placed in these documents reside in our general project requirements as well as our specific project requirements for our design builders to follow and adhere to. Requirements to minimize noise is detailed in those documents. The design builders will present to us a construction noise mitigation plan. It's a requirement for us to review, and not just as DDC, but as a city as a whole, before we give our blessing to approve that and allowing them to move forward with their work. We are constrained to these requirements with regards to noise levels, must comply with New York City codes during the course of the construction. We intend to have these DBs comply with this. There are specific requirements. As you can note here, the decibel levels will be critical to this project. We are holding them to a high standard, not just to meet the Department of Building requirements, but to exceed them in terms of coming in below those standards that are set currently. So during construction hours from 7 to 6 p.m., there's a 80 decibel weighted measurement that must be maintained within the footprint of the property that we have there at the detention center. These sources are outside the property line and on the public right-of-way, including the sidewalks. During weekends, if permitted, they would have to submit a permit application to work over the weekends. And you can see, again, the decibels are reduced for weekend work. So again, we are keeping within a structure of our general project requirements that we can allow this work to take place, again, with minimum disruption to the community when it comes to noise. We can go to the next slide. Any questions on the noise decibels from anyone?
Yes, I have a question. Can you please go back to the previous? Yeah, just for my own knowledge, the last paragraph where it says 10 dBs above the ambient level, I can't see the small print on the right, so I was just curious, what is your ambient level like? What is your measurements like that you guys consider ambient level, or is it kind of a general term that you're using?
Well, more often it's more of a general term, but what we will have in place, we'll have backgrounds set up prior to the start of any construction work, and that'll be our base levels for the community.
Because you know that ambient, I mean, like, it sounds nice. That's really a subjective term. So that means different things to different people with different, hearing and
Correct.
different.
Can I jump in for a
Sure.
second? Hi, this is Rebecca Clough, Associate Commissioner from DDC's
Thank you.
Rural-Based Jails. The ambient level is the measured level if no work is going on. So then that is, it depends on the day, the traffic, whatever is going on. If you're having a festival in the park, there's a higher ambient level than normal maybe. We can't be more than 10 decibels above that level.
That's correct.
Then that gives some, clarity to that then. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes.
So then if like that street happens to be like dead quiet, like on that block, and you can hear a pin drop, and so then you guys can't be more than 10 BDs.
Right. But if you look at the chart on the right, you'll see that 50 dB is a refrigerator in your house. 40 dB is rain. So if it's raining and that's the only sound, we would only be able to be the sound of a refrigerator that you could hear when it's raining.
I can't read the graph. It's too small for me. I apologize.
Well, I'll just ask if we can keep those slides so that we can look at them again. Okay.
Yes, we'll certainly share that with you.
My other question about the noise, I live at 1010, next to 1010 Firehouse on Liberty Street, right at the World Trade Center site. I've had construction for 20 years. So are you going to be taking readings in apartments? Are you going to be taking readings high, low, all over so that you get some
constant
sense? Okay, good.
Yes.
So, and also the other question, which I was going to wait till the end, but I'll ask you now. I hope that there will be a phone number in real time so that if there is noise going on right now, whoever wants to make the complaint can call right now and get a hold of someone and not have to wait till tomorrow when the noise is no longer there.
Jeff, I'll let you handle that one.
Yeah, we go into that in a little bit in the presentation, but yes, we will have, similar to our colleagues in infrastructure that you're familiar with, the CCLs, we will have a full-time CCL. He or she will be available. They'll give out their cell phone number and they can be reached at any time that construction is happening.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. So during the course of construction, we have our requirements to minimize noise from our activities, sound attenuation measures. Those standards, those will be applied to the project in the form of blanketing the area of work. As you know, once the contractor is on site, the entire facility will be scaffolded from the sidewalk to the roof. This also will have netting associated with this scaffolding. And that's part of the measures that will allow us, as you dismantle this building floor by floor, to minimize the noise during dismantle activities. The levels of sound and noise, again, we will be monitoring throughout the community. These will be in place during construction, and we will have baselines prior to the activities on the project site. All the equipment that's being used, in particular those operating through gas engines, we expect that they will be the most current up-to-date equipment on the project site. Mufflers are essential in that type of operation with those type of motors. We'll be inspecting these on a daily basis to make sure that they are up to the manufacturer's standards. Again, the construction noise mitigation plan must include control measures which will employ compliance with all the specified noise requirements and the project goals. We'll have monitoring stations throughout the site. This will give us detailed information on a daily basis of where we are with the noise levels being generated during our activities. Next slide. Requirements for vibration monitoring. This is also essential to the project since we are in a very tight neighborhood. The contractor design builders will have to submit a vibration monitoring plan, which we will review before approving all agencies involved. This monitoring will be in real time. There are several programs out there that are available to the design builders that will allow this to take place through even their smartphones. But we will have this information relayed to us at any point during the day and recorded. Adjacent structures, again, we are in a very tight construction site, so they will be outfitted for the same vibration monitoring and again, reported back to us during the construction activities. Most of these structures that will be monitored will be within the 90-foot distance of the facility, and any excavation that we're doing, which would probably be the most impactful to vibration, will then continue to be monitored when we get to those points even more diligently. Currently, there are no designated historic structures within the 90-foot perimeter from our facility. Next slide. Air quality requirements. This is probably one of the biggest issues that any construction activities have in New York City and Manhattan proper. So we're following the FEIS procedures and measures, construction activities at Manhattan sites that will have the potential to result in any significant adverse air quality impact. The New York City DEP oversees dust control and has issued rules and offers best management practices to control the emissions of dust from the construction site. We will be monitoring the DBs when these activities take place prior to them even starting to make sure that all of the requirements for controlling dust and other contaminants that could potentially, be disturbed during their activities, even for the idling trucks. If you have dump trucks coming in and out of the project site. They are now required to be using ultra low sulfur diesel fuel, along with the newest technologies to reduce contaminants from going into the air. So disruption to any of the area would be temporary and would not be ongoing for full duration of the construction period during the phase of construction activities. So we anticipate that during the initial startup of demo activities, working from the top down, from the structure, we won't have a great amount of air contaminants other than the removal of interior and exterior partitions. Each floor will become compartments of its own during the dismantle process, to even, again, minimize any opportunity to impact the air quality during the dismantle procedures. Okay, requirements to control dust. That dust control plan is, again, outlined in our general project requirements. The DBs must comply and make that submission for review and approval. The levels that we are looking to achieve are, again, below what the current DOB and DEP guidelines and EPA guidelines set for New York City. The particulates, we want to make sure that those particles are, again, within the requirements and under the requirements that allow for safe work to take place and the least impact to the community. All of this will be monitored by staff and equipment once activities do start at the site. We can go through here during the transport of materials from the site. Again, there are specific requirements here with misting of the material from loading onto these vehicles and make sure that contents in the truck are covered. All exposed surfaces during our work and at the end of the work must be maintained clean. The site limits surrounding the work must be cleaned. And again, part of this is having the DBs provide mitigation in terms of misting and water to maintain the levels of potential particles from being dispersed into the air. The more we can do with keeping our water and misting on the activities occurring on a daily basis, this will keep this issue of air contaminants to a very, very minimum. Next slide. Requirements for dust control. DB will also provide dust control plan in detail for our review and approval and agency review and approval. Drilling operations, their equipment must come up to standards during these activities with the required sprays and suppressed dust drilling activities. If it's required, these hand tools will have their own vacuum systems on them with HEPA vacs, again, to minimize dust going in to the community or just becoming airborne. Misting of materials is common for all demo projects, especially in Manhattan. So all the construction activities during these operations will have, and we will be monitoring to maintain that the misting and the watering of the areas being worked on is thorough. Again, these areas will all reside within dust control barriers. As I mentioned, the entire building will be scaffold blanketed, but the work area, floor by floor, will again have its own contained barrier as they contractors look to demolish floor by floor, and that will be consistent all the way as we work our way down. We'll make sure that all these entry points, doors and windows during these activities are all addressed in terms of the plasticizing that the DBs may have to employ to make sure that we have a safe working environment and the dust control measures are in place based on what we approve in that dust control plan. All next slide. Okay. Requirements to minimize the construction traffic impact. There'll be DBs will be design builders will be submitting plan to us specific to the impact the project could have on the roadways that are adjacent to the facility. This plan again will be approved by multiple agencies before the DB is given authorization that it's accepted and he can begin his activities. So along with DDC, the PMC, the Office of Construction, Mitigation, and Coordination, we'll look at these plans, whichever DB is selected, and evaluate its addressing all areas that could impact the community. And we know how traffic in this area is right now. So this will be critiqued very strictly, and we looked to make sure that, again, there is minimum disruption to roadways, sidewalks, and the businesses that are adjacent to the facility. Next slide. Public safety requirements. Okay. Going back to the beginning, the project will require safety protocols such as sidewalk sheds to be installed as we look to dismantle the building. This will provide protection to the public. It will also provide and maintain access to potential businesses that fall within the footprint of the facility. Ensure that the public has safe passage during the construction hours of activities. Again, this will be a specific document that the DB will submit to us and all the other agencies for approval. So, as I said, the safety netting during the construction for building to prevent the debris, if any should fall, from falling to the ground. So the DOB has specific requirements, again, when it comes to sidewalk sheds and the public protection. This plan.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Peter, I'm sorry, can I interrupt you for a second? Your photograph here is showing that Canadian company, the Umbrella Sidewalk Shed Company. Are you intending to use them?
Yes.
Yes.
Not We're not necessarily, this is Nina Gladstone from the PMC. We're not necessarily intending on using that particular company.
Right.
An enhanced umbrella type scaffolding is part of the requirements on Baxter and.
Great. Great. Good. We like that.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and all of that will be engineered and presented to the Department of Buildings for approval. And probably one of the most impactful things to any construction or site in Manhattan are the work hours. So we're in our general project requirements, again, we're requesting that the design builder adhere to the Department's of Buildings work hours. Here again, we will be limited from 7 a.m. 6 p.m. weekdays. And that would also entail no heavy activity until 7 a.m. in the morning.
What I was going to say next is, we always ask that the noisiest work not start as soon as they get there. That they, 7 o'clock, we know you're allowed to start at 7, but
Right.
people are still either asleep or getting themselves ready to go to work or dealing with their children. And so and also I always say to any contractors or developers who are coming in, that you have to make your workers aware, or whichever company it's going to construction company you're hiring, that people live there, and yelling to one another at 7 o'clock in the morning is just as impactful as a truck backing up, the backup beeping, or
Right. Mhm.
dropping a piece of metal on the ground.
Absolutely. And again, this will become part of the norm during construction activities. Just given the location where we are in Manhattan, what you just expressed, we definitely will be monitoring the design builder to have in place, the ability to understand the type of work that's going to take place and the impact that it could potentially have to the residents, during those hours. So again, something that we will have on a schedule to monitor and make sure that it gets implemented correctly.
Please have that discussion with your contractor and have them constantly remind their workers 7 a.m. to be respectful to the residents.
Absolutely.
All times, but 7 a.m. in particular. Thank you.
Yes. So I was just going to end it. We don't foresee a great amount of weekend work, but we cannot rule it out. It could potentially come up based during the activities. There's something that needs to be addressed, and they would have to apply for a weekend permit in order to address those activities.
And I hope I hope that the residents will be given a heads up early, and that the contractor not apply for a variance, get it, and then the next day a street is closed or there's working going on that the residents weren't prepared for. I always say everyone is going to be, as I say, pissed about construction and construction noise and the impact to their quality of life. But if you at least let them know in a reasonable amount of time before it takes place, they will be a little less angry with you.
Absolutely. And I definitely can see that if there's work that a notice has to be issued, to the community, we have the mechanism for that, and it will be put into place.
Good evening, Ms. Moore and Community Board 1. Hi, my name is Norberto Acevedo. It's actually been some time since I've actually presented to the Quality of Life Committee at CB1. My past life at DDC was in the infrastructure division, and for the past 3 years or so, I've been in the Public Buildings Realm Division at DDC. So good to see you.
Welcome back.
Yes. So of course, we can go to the next slide. The folks at CB1 are certainly familiar with the CCL role. So a lot of this is maybe repetitive, but for those that may not know, just a few slides here to bring you up to speed on what we do. So the Community Construction Liaison, it's been a program with DDC for many, many years. As your committee and your board knows, we have very excellent community liaisons that have worked for us as an extension of DDC's Office of Community Outreach and Notification. They've done a great job for us and I think for the community in bringing information back and forth. So some of the ways we do that are through our notification network. These are our lists of contacts for the community. We gain these through internal methods. Stakeholders are not only the folks that live and work in an area, but we also include other fellow agencies in notifications as well. The way we gather that information is through several sources, but we really encourage our community liaisons to get out into the neighborhoods that we're working in and establish contact with the folks that are working and living in those areas. So some of the tools, like I said, the next network, of course, phone, email, surveying. We like to get a feel for what types of impacts the folks may be feeling, so that if there's any way we can help mitigate those, we certainly will do that. We use, to disseminate information outwardly, we use advisories, we track inquiries, and our door's always open. So at any time, if the community wants to have a one-on-one with the CCL in the office, we can arrange an appointment for that. Or if it's a larger meeting, we could always entertain that and get that done as well. Next slide. So some of you may have seen these advisories lately. These are actually two samples of what we've put out most recently. This is what you will see mostly during the course of construction. These are the types of advisories that will call out impactful work. Of course, all the work is impactful, but down to things like this picture you see to the left here. This is some of the early works that are happening right now over the weekends. This is a boring machine, and they're just drilling down into the ground to take tests on what the soil content is and other numerous tests that they run through. So,
Roberto, can I
yes.
interrupt you for a second?
Go right ahead.
So, timely photograph. We had a huge complaint about boring that was going on 124 to 125 White Street. No notification that they saw, the person saw. What's going on?
So was this a complaint today or?
Yes.
Yeah, we got a complaint just like an hour or two ago.
Okay.
It was about earlier in the month.
So the complaint today was about a previous issue. Okay.
I was looking to see what date it was.
Okay.
But yes.
We will. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, so the boring has been going on for how long?
For several weekends. This work has not occurred Monday through Friday. This is weekend work.
Well, that's even worse.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're at the mercy of the permits we can get to do this work, and that's when we're able to do it. So I will certainly look into that. We certainly don't want, yes, this is going to be, it's work that someone is going to be disrupted by, and we certainly don't want that. However, the best we can do is do our advance notifications, so at least folks can prepare.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That's what I
So,
said a little while ago. So what
yeah.
happened with the advance notification for the last couple of weekends?
Yeah, it's been challenging just because of the speed at which things are moving. There's a lot of moving parts, and we also are working with the private utilities and to get them to give us the notice that we require, which is a minimum of 72 hours, is very challenging.
Yeah,
Just to be
but
clear,
I hate to
there
say
had-
it, but not a good enough reason. Don't want to start by coming down on you guys right off the bat, but hey, somebody could stand out on a couple of street corners and hand out some of this notification, even if it's happening that day, and say,
Well, actually, yeah, we actually have had our outreach coordinator. Her name is Anna Killian. I believe she's on the call now. She's been doing kind of that grassroots level outreach. She's been not only posting these notices in the area, but also going from store to store or business to business, trying to make contact with the folks in the area and hand out these flyers. So if there's folks that want to be part of, we also email this, so we are establishing that email distribution list. We can certainly include the Quality of Life Committee on that. If you want it just to be you, Ms. Moore, we could do that, and then you could disseminate it.
no, you can send it to the office and then it can go in
Okay.
our weekly newsletter. But
Sure.
again, someone, and hi Anna, if you're there, someone, I hope it isn't just you because it's a lot of territory to cover, but even if it's happening that day and you haven't had an opportunity to send out or you don't have contact numbers, again, somebody can go out there and start handing out leaflets and saying, today we will be doing boring from this time to this time. We're sorry we couldn't give you earlier notification, but people have to know. They have to be told what's going to happen.
Just to
in
clarify,
the
Ms. Moore,
meantime-
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
We haven't been doing it every weekend, so
That's
I believe
okay.
we had,
Every other weekend.
we had some
One weekend.
hiccups. We had some hiccups for the first notice, but since then we've been able to give out the 72-hour notification. And understandably, we can always do more. So
Yes,
we'll
please.
take that back
This is a
and figure out how to
contentious
make it happen.
project, as you know. So
Yeah,
let's
yes, we
try
do.
to, yeah.
Absolutely.
Hold on
We
a
don't-
second, because Cora, I'm sorry to interrupt. Cora, are you there? You're sending me all these emails. Tell them. Cora? Hello. Where are you? Lucian, is Cora there?
She is. She's in the
Working on
attendee
it.
section.
Hold on.
Can you unmute her, please?
Yep, she's unmuted now.
Good, good. Thank you. Thank you. This is about the borough-based jail, right? So I have a clarifying question. The 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. work, do trucks start coming in before 7 a.m. to do their staging of work, or no staging work is allowed until it's at 7 or after 7? That's my first question. Then is it in your plan to hire liaison or additional staff that will be bilingual in Chinese and English, since the community in that area mainly is Chinese-speaking folks over there? Next one is, how do you do outreach to the Chinese community over there? That the stores that you go in, they are just the workers over there, and a lot of them, they speak minimal English. So that's my question right now.
Understood. Understood. Thank you for that. I guess I'll work backwards there. So with regard to right now, in these, what we call the early works, we have in our DDC in-house outreach coordinator, Anna Killian. She is part of my team and works on many other DDC public buildings projects, and there are other sites to do work on. But just before, at the pre-construction phase, We will be hiring a CCL, a Community Construction Liaison, specifically for this site. And that person will be there every day of the work throughout the project lifecycle. So yes, and then this person is also, we will be looking for language skills that will match the community that we're working in. I know that there's been some early requests to have as much as 3 different dialects of language skills for the Chinese language. So that's going to be a challenge, but we will at a minimum, I think we will have a traditional Chinese language translation for our outreach materials, and that the individual that works for us on this project will have at least that and hopefully more dialects of the Chinese language.
So the job that you plan to hire is a prerequisite that person is bilingual in
Yes.
the Mandarin or Cantonese,
Yes.
whatever dialect.
We are not, right, we will not be hiring someone without that language skill. We want that, and we know the community wants that.
Thank you.
You had another question though, regard to kind of the
Right now,
staging.
how do you do the outreach? You said you have already done outreach to the stores, the storefronts or buildings to let them know the work. So far, how do you communicate with the local community people who don't speak
Right.
English or minimum
It's-
or English as their
It's,
language?
yeah, it's been difficult at this stage, but the work, and again, I'm using this term in the grand scheme of things, relative to the work we're doing, this work has been occurring only on weekends and only in the that corridor between Baxter and Center on White Street. So it's been as minimal impact as it can be. That's the work that's been going on. And our outreach coordinator, Anna, has been working diligently to post notice. So out in the area, we're using every available method to post these notices and also do as much as we can to walk into the local stores. Now, what does that mean? We're not going to go into every single storefront that is around, the corner from where the work is happening, and they're going to be far less affected, if affected at all. This early work is really only going to affect people that can see it from their storefront and not affect anyone that has a storefront around the corner. So it's only been the handful of restaurants and other businesses on Baxter that we've been handing out the advisory to. But as we get into the more the pre-construction, and then this is going to be towards the end of this calendar year and going into early 2022, that's when this work is really going to begin. So that is when everything gets ramped up, and by then we will have that community liaison on board that has the language skill and that is also there every day, that will have also an office on site, hopefully as close to the site as possible. That way, anyone that has an issue, a question, a concern can go right up to the office and have a conversation about what it is their concern is. So we're working towards that now. And as soon as we have identified who that person is, and it will be towards the end of this year, we will certainly let the whole community know.
Thank you. And the other question about the working hours.
Another
When you
question.
say it's 8 to 6 or 7 to 6, does that mean the trucks would start coming before the hour to do staging?
Yeah, I think I understand what you mean. Again, that is a good year away from now, and we haven't even chosen the design builder yet, and they are the ones that we are going to require the plan from, the trucking plan of how this will happen. So as soon as we have that, we'll be able to share with the community how that's going to look and how that's going to feel in the area.
So the current weekend working, the weekend work right now, when it said is from 8 to 6.
Yes.
So
yes, and they, to my, as I've been told, by our construction management people, this work, yeah, there's a good picture of that machine. It's a boring machine. They have not actually used that whole, they're allowed to work between those hours, 8 to 6 and 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. But they have not actually utilized all that just yet.
Yeah, Anna explained that before. Our concern is sometimes those, the contractor or the work, although the hours is from 8 to 6, and they might just come in before that and then like start throwing machines and the heavy duty stuff, like start making noise. So there is a difference. So we just need to let the community know what to expect. When you say from 8 to 6, does that include the staging work or it doesn't? So that the community is better informed, and also the community board in our office know how to respond, how to react. And Councilmember Chin has asked before that why the work, why does it take so long, like for the work over the weekend? Because Father's Day, Mother's Day, the city is reopening, so the local businesses really cannot afford further interruptions to try to struggle to survive. So that's what I know for her.
Oh,
yeah. Thank you.
Understood.
Let me ask you a question. Does this boring work entail closing streets?
Well, technically speaking, yes, but as you can see from this picture, this is not an actual, a street as we know it, where, cars are driving through it. So yes, it is closing a portion of it, but pedestrians can still walk through. So it's
But I
not
mean, if
closed.
someone lives in the neighborhood and they didn't know this was happening, they can access their home?
Yes, this is not outside of the footprint of the current structure that's there. So it should not affect, it's not going to block a passage that someone in the neighborhood is used to walking by.
Well, I meant with a car.
Oh,
yeah, this is the pedestrian walkway from Baxter to Center in front of the facility. It's not the actual street.
So
I do,
just to get back to, I'm sorry, is that, who's talking? Is that Corey? You had something else?
let me wrap it up. I do want to alert you that from Baxter to Center is like a causeway for the people to go to the other side. And on Center Street, 139, the whole building is all full of medical services. So people who are on wheelchairs, the seniors, they need that access to go to the doctor's appointment or to the other side. And right at the base of 139, they're all little small businesses over there for dumplings, noodles. And on Baxter, there are all the little restaurants over there. And it is a busy causeway for those folks to come from east side, from the heart of Chinatown, walk through that pathway to down to Center Street to access our train, the N train to the other side. So it is actually heavy pedestrian traffic causeway for them. And it's an important place because when they are sick and the seniors who are on wheelchairs, the family, you can't afford to like wheel them to another block and then to come down. So if you can advise the team, whoever's working on it, like Pat said, the construction guys need to know. We all know, but we won't be there. So we need the workers on site to be highly aware of that and be to allow access when that's needed. Don't turn them away.
Understood. Yeah, no, we've been maintaining pedestrian access throughout, and if there's ever a concern, Cora, we're happy to talk further, and we can also meet you on site if needed.
Thank you. Back to you, Pat.
Thanks, Cora. Okay, so I just want to reiterate once again that we had that complaint and they were not happy. And so, Anna, again, if you're online, please make sure that the next time there's going to be any kind of boring work going on, that pretty much the whole community knows when it's going to happen and where it's going to happen. Thank you.
Pat, can
So
I
it's back to,
can I jump in for a couple
of course,
things?
of course.
Thank you, thank you. So one I think item that we were able to glean from the complaint that we received today was that there's still people who need to be plugged in that need to, that aren't at the moment. And so there's a couple of things I think we can do. One is if you all could work with whichever entity is running the NAC, whether it's the mayor's office or MOCJ, just go ahead and put everyone from that NAC's email into the into Anna Killian's blast list for any sort of disruptions and 72-hour notices. I think that's going to be really helpful. That was an idea that was I won't take credit for it, but was not my idea. It's a good idea. The other thing is special attention. I think Cora was really giving a lot of great information about special attention. My priority throughout this is, not just the neighborhood, but specifically the Chung Pak building, which is the neighboring building to the complex as it stands today, and that facility is a residential facility and filled to the brim with people who are very, very sensitive to any kind of disruption. If there's a way for maybe Cora to help us kind of broker a meeting just to make sure that the people who run Chung Pak are plugged in to the maximum extent, because dust, vibration, noise, light, that's going to maximally impact their lives. So I think that's one step that we can take very, very early on, and if it means that we maybe have to walk through their apartments with the Chung Pak people to give them pointers on how to make sure that we're keeping dust and PM 2.5 particles from going into their apartments. These are things that I think we could be doing now, and I'm happy to be a partner in any of that. But yeah, they are your closest, most vulnerable neighbors.
Understood. Thank you for that, Lucian. No, we will certainly take that under advisement. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we have been, Lucian, we have been talking to them, but we can, again, as I said before, we can always do more. So we're happy to
Thank you.
continue
Thank
that
you.
conversation.
That's very, yeah, that's great news. Thank you so much. And then just getting back to some of the discussions about the different types of impacts and how the overall plan contemplates mitigating them to the maximum practicable extent. In terms of bringing vehicles in, just going off of our experience, when you have vehicles queuing to be filled with dismantled debris or delivering machinery, there's only so much space for them to fit to be unloaded or loaded, depending on how you set up the area. Special attention needs to be paid to where trucks that either are laid over or waiting their turn to pick up or drop something off, where are they going to be waiting? Because wherever they are will be a massive obstruction, but there are better places than others for having them sit by. And we've actually worked this out with, I don't remember if it was a DDC project or it was another project, but we had a lot of success working with our partners in doing that. But it's something down the road I know is going to be an issue. Construction workers bringing their personal automobiles is a perennial issue. For the bigger the site, the more personal automobiles we're going to see. It's already a horrible issue with public employee placard abuse, though I will say that you all have achieved what we could never do, and you cleared out the pedestrian plaza on White Street of corrections vehicles, personal vehicles. So
amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I've never seen it clear before. But so that's something that we're certainly, needing to work on a plan for, and making sure the contractor encourages their workers to the whatever extent they can to use the $30 billion transit system, the best one in the world that's underneath everyone's feet. So that's one other item. The last item Pat covered. I was thinking the same thing about the scaffolding. You took the words right out of my mouth. And so with that, I'll give it back to you, Pat. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, this is
Yeah,
Rebecca Clough. If I could just jump in here for
Sure.
a minute in response to that point on the vehicle parking, the workers parking. We are planning to put into the RFP itself that no workers can be commuting to the site, even private vehicles. They have to use public transit. So it's one of those things we're gonna be trying to enforce to the extent possible through the course of the project. So we're very conscientious that parking is a major issue in that area.
Yep.
As well as, there are a lot of seniors walking along that you really don't want any more vehicles traversing the site than necessary, so.
Right. And I think
Exactly.
that you definitely, hit the nail on the head. And I really appreciate you putting that in there, because it's not so much the competition for parking, but the vehicles always end up being placed where vehicles ought not to be, and all the systemic effects that kind of come from that. If there's a way for people to report construction workers or contractors who are using their personal vehicles and parking them in places, we'll also want to know who is the best person to receive any photos or videos, reports of that, because that is something that we'll certainly be receiving from the public.
That will
And
be through
Killian,
the, yeah,
right there.
for
And
right
Killian.
now, between now and the end of the year, it would be Anna Killian. But you really shouldn't see much of that. These early works, the boring procedures that are happening are almost done. There may be some private utility Con Ed type test pits that may happen. We're going to keep tabs on that too, because they're doing that in advance of this work. So we'll do everything we can to work with Con Ed to get that information out. But yes, as we get to the end of this year and we identify the community liaison that will be on this Manhattan site full time, that will be the person that the community will know and can send pictures to and complaints to about this type of thing.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I don't know, was there more presentation?
No, that's it.
Great. So
Can I ask a
future-
question before he goes, Pat?
Yeah, I was gonna open it up, but in future, I just want to
Oh,
say we
go.
want to talk about rat mitigation, and because that's a big topic of quality of life. And I thought there was only 3-minute idling. So somewhere in this discussion, I heard idling, cars, trucks idling. I thought that cars and trucks are only allowed to idle for 3 minutes or less.
Yeah,
That's correct.
Right.
So we will have no trucks idling.
But Pat,
Right.
if there's no enforcement, then the rule is moot. So I think the enforcement part has to be enforced.
Right. All right. So we'll come back because I know you'll be joining us again.
Yeah, but if
We
they're
will
loading
circle.
dirt or if they're loading up something, they're going to be there idling for a minute.
But they
or
shouldn't
so.
have the truck on if they're loading. But anyway, Francis,
Well-
you can go first, but we'll come back around to these topics the next time we have a conversation with you. So now I'm going to
Sure.
open it up to the committee for questions.
Okay, I was
Francis, go
just
ahead.
curious based on the questions that that were asked about the residents, being sensitive to the residents in the area and when the workers come. And I was just curious if there was any consideration to bringing them all in at the same time, like having them meet at a specific location and then a bus bringing them in. And if that is the case, then in terms of the the noise factor in terms of, you know, how a group of workers get to a work site and have a tendency to possibly be loud or whatever. But anyway, that was just a thought that I had as far as when Cora was asking about the what time the workers come and what that whole process is going to look like for the neighborhood and the people there. That's it.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Was there a question?
It kind of, you know, but I was just imagining a situation. I didn't know whether whether you had considered, you know, looking at how, because you said the workers aren't going to be able to drive into work. So there's going to be a bunch of people needing to get to this location at a certain time, you know, or you can, you know, and I know at some work sites, they have an alternate location and they have a bus that picks up people and they take them and they drop them off and, you know, whatever. If that is something that you might consider or haven't considered, or.
We think about it, and it's something we suggest to the contractor, but it's a means and methods thing. It may be that if he or she can't control their workers, we may force them to do that, but you know, it's always more cost to everybody, so we'll try to.
Just curious.
No, well, it's always an option.
Put it
We'll
on the
try
table.
it, but you're.
Put it on the table. Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
You're on
Thank
the right
you.
track. You're on the right track.
Thank you.
Thanks. Committee, next. Anyone?
Can I speak?
All right, if the committee doesn't have any questions.
I do.
Oh, Betty, hi,
There's a
Betty.
couple of hands up, actually, Pat.
Okay, go.
Not
for
just
it, I
mine.
can't see. I'm using my
Yes, I
new-
just wanted to reiterate, there's the sensitivity for the people living in the area, for any and all of the projects that are happening right now. With COVID, a lot more people have developed or had increasing cases of anxiety and depression. And this is already like a neighborhood, a district that largely suffers with like PTSD from 9/11. And now with the 20th anniversary upon us, people can be particularly triggered by you know, certain noises and dust and combinations of those. So more so than we would on any other occasion, I think we need to be, you know, aware of that and, you know, remain conscientious of that and sensitive to the times that we're doing the work, how loud we're being, and whether or not there is somebody available to do something about it if it gets out of hand. That's all.
Point taken.
Thanks, Miriam. Thanks, Mariama. Okay, next.
Can I speak?
Who is that? Yeah, Betty,
This is
go.
Betty,
go.
yes. I'm the air person. Given that you talked about 150 micrograms per cubic meter being kind of the threshold they're supposed to stay below, that's for 24 hours of particulate matter 10. That is a permissible level of national ambient air quality standards, but is higher than is prescribed annual daily limit by the US EPA, which is only 50 micrograms per cubic meter, which is in fact double what the WHO recommends. So I have 3 questions. One, what is the predicted annual exposure, since this is a fairly long-term project? So that becomes essential. And 2, will particulate matter 2.5 and 1 be measured? Because the research coming out is that those are even more important when it gets down to looking at not only lung disease, but future dementia and cancer issues. So those numbers would be real interesting to be monitored, leading to the question of just how far out will the monitoring occur, so that we can better warn the people who live those distances, really what levels they're dealing with, because they shouldn't be exercising at some of these levels.
Would a member of our PMC be able to fill that?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we can I think we're gonna have to come back to you with responses on that with possibly
Yeah.
a specialist on that. Those are very, I'm not an expert in air quality and monitoring, so I think we need to come back to you with those.
Yeah, could you please, because Dr. K knows a lot about this, and can you
Yeah.
please?
Well, my question was, do you want me to send an email to Lucian, which he can forward on then with this question written down?
I think that you can, but we are taking notes from this meeting as well, so.
Okay, if you don't need any.
Actually, Betty, I'm going to pop my nose in here and just say something real quick. Thank you, everybody, for being here. But I do believe that the community board needs to have a process where all the questions that we ask, I am grateful that they say that the city agencies are writing them down and taking them for follow-up. But I would counsel that we as a community board for due diligence should take questions like, for example, Betty's requesting a toxic specialist and definition on how long the air quality monitoring should, will continue, with the request of it continues through the entire length of the project, be put into a resolution so we have something that we can look back on and say, we have asked on June 10th for the following. Because if it's not in writing, sometimes even though it's recorded, it may not have been remembered. So that's my one cautionary comment.
Sounds good. I'm ready taking notes, so we will talk about a resolution. In the meantime, also, please get back to us with a specialist and answer Betty's questions. I see Mimi. You're muted, dear.
I am muted. Thanks. I'm an advocate for open data. Is it possible for us to get access to the data that you're saying you're going to collect on the noise, air quality, like what the sensors are gathering? Is there a way for us to be able to consume that in a sort of visual format? And also, I'm the one that complains about noise, and is there a way to, I don't know if I'm making a suggestion or whatever, I'm like making stuff up, but is there a way to give complaints that includes a decibel level? And could we do that?
You could always do that, certainly.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question? I didn't hear the last part of it.
Sure, yeah, I just really like sensors. And so being able to submit a noise complaint with a decibel reading would be sort of like my whole jam, if that makes any English sense.
We would certainly, that's not the first time we've had a member of the community ask us that question, believe it or not. And some people do have their own decibel meters where they want to show us their reading. That's certainly your prerogative to do so. As far as the decibel levels that we are keeping ourselves constrained to, that will be a report, and that will be something we are logging and keeping. And as we get closer to the construction, which again, we've said it enough times, towards the end of the year, construction starts early 2022. We will certainly be in a better place to put a mechanism in place whereby we could potentially post it periodically throughout the life cycle of the project. So that's something we'll take under consideration.
Excellent. Yeah, and I really like live data. I don't know if you want to just take note of that, but it would be kind of sweet if we could see like real time what air quality is and how loud it is. But that would, I'm sure, be in the future, but it'd be kind of cool. Thanks.
Betty would agree with you. Any other questions from the committee? Okay, let's open it up. We're going to open it up to the public for questions, but just remember the questions. I'm being very serious. We will mute you if the questions have anything to do with anything other than we're only discussing the construction issues. So if anyone from the public would like to ask questions about noise mitigation, dust, dirt, any of those questions are welcome. Anything else, it's not in this committee. So, Lucian, you have anybody?
Yes, we do. We have Taylor. Taylor, I'm gonna unmute you now.
Hey, Taylor.
Hi, good evening. This is Taylor. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool.
Hi.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I just wanted to also thank you all and thank some of the questions and comments put forth as someone who has survived 9/11, was a kid on 9/11, and am struggling with the things talked about, that these are really important to community members like myself. So thank you for considering us and taking care of us. So, my question was, could you remind me what date you estimate to be done with construction? And then what date you estimate the doors to the borough jail will open? So I don't remember that being said, and if there was like a big gap between the two. Thanks.
So this is Jeff from DDC again. The goal is to finish construction by the third quarter of 2027. That is what the city has agreed to as part of the ULURP with the city council and the borough president. I think maybe Becky, I don't know if you want to speak to the turnover process, but I think it's a little time to figure that out. But I'm assuming Department of Corrections would be involved as we start getting closer to the completion, substantial completion, we call it. And there might be a few months lag between when the doors would open.
No,
Oh, okay.
we have to have them in the building by
Oh, there you go.
third quarter of 2027. So last 6 months before, probably from the beginning of 2027, they'll be in the building, shaking out the computer systems, mechanical systems, etc. Training on where things are and such. So there'll be some overlap of work finishing and them being in, not detainees or people in custody, but staff. So as we get closer to that, we can give you a better idea. But right now, I don't even have an RFP out yet for the building, so it's hard to anticipate what that time frame will be for them to come in.
Basically, this project is about a 6-year project.
I'm sorry?
This project is about a 6-year project, 5 or 6 years.
If you include all the procurement time, yes.
Yeah.
The actual physical construction of the building will probably be closer to 3.5 to 4 years.
It's enough time for people to be really upset. I gotta
Hopefully
tell you.
not. Hopefully we can be a good neighbor to
I
you.
hope not. I hope not.
Because don't
Alright,
forget,
any
we got
other-
the judges we got to keep happy on the other side of us. So
That's true. That's a good point. Good. Hopefully they will speak up.
they'll keep us in line.
and-
Yeah.
Anyone else from the public?
Some may join your committee, Ms. Moore.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Anyone else from the public? Any other questions? Listen?
Pat, can I ask one more question?
Of course, Tammy. Tammy's our chair, of course.
I prefer always to have the questions come from community before me.
But
I'd like to know what kind of coordination has been done with those who have permitted Columbus Park. Columbus Park is an amazing public amenity that is used by all the leagues in Lower Manhattan supporting the community's children for sports, as well as the seniors in the area who do all forms of outdoor recreation. So I'd like to hear what kind of construction coordination you've done and what you're looking to monitor the air quality and effects, specifically targeting to those who use the amenities in Columbus Park.
I'm not sure if I'm answering the question. The noise and dust monitoring occurs I believe it's within 50 feet of the edge of the property, so nothing should be moving beyond that. So I think the park is outside of that 50 feet or right along the edge of it, but certainly if it can't get to the 50-foot mark, it won't be getting to the park. But again, that's one of those things that we can discuss more as we get closer. But there should be no adverse impacts to the park. We'll be working to make sure that nothing we're doing is impacting it.
And access to the streets around the park?
They would be probably within the 50 feet of the property line that is part of the monitoring.
My question, I guess, is will those streets be opened or will those streets be closed?
It's too early to say. We may close the lane closest to the building just for safety purposes. It may be temporary or maybe continuous.
Do you think you'd be able to update us on what the actual traffic pattern and final plans will be?
Of course, yeah, there was a slide earlier. I think we discussed that there is a traffic mitigation plan they have to provide, that as well as a staging and phasing plan they'll provide that show us how they're going to be impacting the area. So far, what we've heard from the teams during the in-market period is they may close one lane, but I think only one even contemplating closing Baxter Street, and we told them that probably wasn't going to be a good idea.
Yeah, we've also met with DOT, and DOT does not want us to close Baxter Street altogether. So
Right.
I think, as Becky said, one lane only along Baxter might be closed for safety, security reasons, but other than that, the lane should be open.
Good to know, because Baxter goes along the park.
Right, that's right.
Okay.
Could I just, Tammy, Baxter is only one lane because, I mean, forget about what's on paper. The restaurants along Baxter Street are in the street, due to the pandemic, and, it's the whole street is basically one lane going through.
Exactly.
Well, hopefully by the time we get there, that those restaurants won't be needing. Again, we're not going to be starting work for until probably early 2022.
Okay.
February, March.
Yeah,
So
it wouldn't count on it though. That we
Well,
don't
I'm-
talk about the open.
Rebecca, I hope that you're right with that. But
I am optimistic that we are all going to be
Apart-
maskless by
Mitch,
then.
can I finish my comment, my question? And the reason why I was dripping is exactly where Mitch is going. The city council has legislation to have open restaurants as a permanent program. So while the pandemic would be over and we are back to normal life now includes open restaurants, which is the concern that I have for the establishments and their ability to conduct business surrounding where we are.
Okay. And can I add something to that, Tammy? Because
I'm good.
Without that, Rebecca, make believe the open restaurant's finished. There's not more than one lane because all of the court offices and all of the placards are parking on the street there and that's not going to change. So there is one lane all the time, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic.
I think the plan is actually to take over that parking lane where the police cars, vehicles are parked right now, and they would have to be relocated.
There's the jail right there. I mean, and okay.
The jail's being demolished, so those people would no longer need to be parking there.
And the prison, okay, you got it.
That is what's been proposed, but as Rebecca said, until we get the construction mitigation plan from the design build firms, we won't know for sure, but that's what we've seen and we've talked to DOT about. So far is closing just the parking lane, not closing the street.
Okay.
And if I can add, these are some of the kinds of things that we'd love to hear now. If there are specific things, I know what you're mentioning now about Baxter Street, of course, if the restaurants are open, how are we going to work with them? You know, Lucian mentioned working on staging areas and where the materials are dropped off. I mean, we can always do our best to work with the design builders to try and incorporate those kinds of comments into their plans. So if there is a list of things like that, we would love to hear it. And now is we're getting, you know, now is the perfect time to do that.
You know, I can give you a drop of feedback. I forget what the exact street is, but like one of the cross streets as you go from like downtown on Baxter Street from Canal, and you go through the restaurants, and then you get to where the prison is, and then like there's a street where, you know, before you get to West Street, there's a couple of streets where there's some little space where you can turn in, and if the prison, if all the prison and everything's going to be demolished, then off Baxter Street could be a staging area, but not on Baxter Street.
And I don't know if you're sort of taking a look at this and saying, although the jail will be demolished and the jail won't be there, the courthouse is still there. So there is still a need and requirement that NYPD as well as the judicial system has for placard parking. So I would ask that in the design, build, whatever that you're going through, that is also a need that needs to be, I mean, you know, obviously if it was up to Community Board 1, there wouldn't be one placard allowed over there. They'd all have to park in a garage and support businesses. But since we don't control that, you need to include that. It is a little naive to assume that that is not needed and will fully go away, because it will not.
We will see if we can work with the mayor's office to find a solution for that.
Great.
Okay, and again, if we're going to do a reso, we can add some of these things in there. Cora had another question. Cora, are you still?
Yes.
Still there?
I wasn't aware of tonight's quality of life. Actually, the DDC bi-monthly standing meeting includes this one. When I read Andrew Kuchen's email, he mentioned that DDC will be able to address the questions that Tammy brought forward. So my question is, because we always have this bi-monthly DDC, we come back Front Street, all those projects. I wasn't aware that like this one BBJ project is actually.
We will start being
great.
more specific from now on,
Yep.
Cora.
So my question is, will this presentation or dialogue discussion be brought to the regular NAC, the BBJ project NAC, or CB3? Because the people who are really, really concerned is on the east side is like 55 White Street. I know they have been following and they're very interested in being engaged. That's on the CB1 side. But then all the way to the other side is actually about CB3. So if you bring this to the NAC, CB3 district manager and those representatives will be there. And if coming back every 2 months or every month, because such a huge project, and if that is the case, we should invite Chongpak, those main buildings property manager, to alert them that on quality of life, because it's the borderline. And a lot of times all the folks in Chinatown, they don't really think about the CB1, all the issues. They will go to CB3 on the other side. So I want to make sure this conversation, when they have questions, they are the directly impact people, that they can be part of this moving forward. So this is the point that I want to bring up.
Well, one of the questions I was going to ask is how often you felt that well, I know we don't meet in August, so would it be possible if you come back in September? And do you think you'll have any new information in September that you'd like to share with us?
And will this be at the NAC meeting? Or when is the next NAC meeting? Or it will be 3 meetings? So those folks have been following this project, the district office manager can be part of this conversation. So she's aware of it.
Yes, thank you, Cora. Yeah, we did reach out to CB3. It's actually funny. My colleagues are texting me. They're presenting at the Parks Committee at CB3 right now on another project you may have heard about. So we go there very often. We did reach out. We're happy to reach out again. They haven't asked us to come, but we're certainly open to it. Yes, our goal was to get this ready for the NAC meeting. Unfortunately, we didn't have the time to put it all together, but I know the timing is not great. We actually sent it over to the NAC this afternoon. We're happy to present to the NAC as well with this presentations. If that's what, that's the request, we're happy to do it. I don't know off the top of my head when that next NAC meeting is though, but we're happy to do it.
Okay, and again, September.
Yeah, I don't know the answer. I think maybe we can speak to Lucian in the interim and continue the dialogue, and then we'll figure out when the best time to come back is.
Yeah, because I think as time goes on, there are going to be more and more issues and more questions, and we'd like, if possible, you to come every other month, the same as your fellow DDC people. So we'll discuss it going forward. Any more questions from the community, from the public? Lucian?
Maybe Anna Goldstein. I'm going to unmute you. Let's see. Go ahead, Anna.
Okay, just a second. Well, I am concerned about the cancer-linked silica particulate dust. How will you be monitoring that during demolition? And what will you be doing to stop the airborne dust from impacting us in the neighborhood and in Columbus Park?
So I think we referenced, talking to our air quality specialist. So if you want to put that specific question in your resolution or whatever you decide to do, and we'll also, again, the team is here, we'll also figure out how we can try and address that question.
Okay, yeah,
and get
Anna,
back to you guys.
one of our board members has asked a similar question or a companion question. And so we are going to be receiving some information about the measurements of the particulates and further mitigation. And please, would you send an email to us, Anna, with your question? Is Anna still there?
Yeah, and I unmuted you again. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll send you an email. Could
Okay,
you
great.
tell
And
me
I'll
where to
I'll give
send
you
it
my,
in the chat?
yeah, I will.
Yeah.
And
Thank
then I guess, Pat, building on what Anna's saying, I do think that considering the size of Columbus Park and the discussion that we're having here about 50 feet beyond the construction site, Baxter's a very narrow little road back there. And I'm wondering whether 100 feet seems far more reasonable in terms of, air monitoring than 50. I mean, 50 feet the edge of the site puts you into the middle of a street.
Well, the idea is that no dust can be going past that point. So if we are
And if it does, Rebecca,
if we're registering dust at 50 feet, then it will immediately be addressed. If it gets to 100 feet, it's a much bigger problem. So we don't want to wait to 100 feet. We want to deal with it sooner and not later.
I agree. I wasn't saying one or the other. I'm actually looking at both because I'm not quite sure what immediacy means in terms of city language. Immediacy, I'm with sort of Mimi on this. Immediate data means it gets flagged, it's immediately spiked, and then there's a work stoppage. But if the data is out there And at the end of the week, there's somebody who reviews it, if they're reviewing on a quote unquote timely basis. Oh, well, you know, that was just one spike on one day because of the wind or because of what? What is considered immediate? What is considered amelioration? And how does it work in terms of a flow based on your 50 feet?
Typically, we have instantaneous notice that we're exceeding the minimum or the maximum rather, and it goes to electronically to the superintendent on site and to the DDC person on site, and immediate action is taken. So there's a lot of focus on the whole dust and particulate control, because the workers themselves, who the long-term exposure to silica is a big problem, and they are limited to the amount of silica they can be exposed to. So it's a very immediate and definite concern on a demolition site. And extensive misting and filtering of air is done to arrest the problem at the source, not allow it to billow beyond the edges of the site.
Correct.
We nip it in the bud, so to say.
So immediate is in real time.
Yes, instantaneous.
Okay, thank you very much for explanation.
Any other questions from the public or the committee?
Yeah,
Yes,
I do.
Okay, so I have my.
Sorry, because I'm
Go ahead,
talking
Ben.
about workers. Workers, I'm hoping, are wearing masks or something to protect them. The people out on the street, I don't expect them to be wearing safety gear. So I do predict the two groups should be handled a little bit differently. Hence, the distance is more critical, especially with Columbus Park and people wanting to exercise there. They should be warned if the levels are higher because of the kind of work being done on the site. So I do think distance and timing are a little different for the different populations. So Tammy, I hope you don't step back too much from your position, because the workers are very important, but I hope they're wearing gear to protect themselves prophylactically like they didn't in 9/11.
And requirement that the workers wear protective face covering?
Yeah, for breathing purposes, yes. If they're picking up any level that's unsafe, they should be wearing that
But I mean, the
prophylactically.
developer, that is.
Yes, but the idea here is to arrest the dust at the edge of the property, not allow it to go beyond for anyone. So there's basically every piece of equipment that is used for demolition or dismantling the facility has a misting or water source that's spraying down the material as quickly as they're removing it. So that dust production is very, very minimal. But I clearly understand your concerns. We have similar concerns. And as we get closer to the startup, after we've selected the contractor, we can have a presentation to you of how exactly they deal with it and what you can expect prior
Thank
to
you.
We would
that.
love that.
But monitoring is key, because what they do is one thing, but showing that it worked is another.
And also, if I can, I'm sorry, Pat, my hand is raised. May I go or not yet?
Sorry.
Okay.
Well, Betty, you're completed? Yes, okay. Betty's
Sorry,
done.
yes.
Go ahead, Justine,
Okay,
go ahead.
sorry. No, I just want to follow up on what everybody's saying, and also just point out, number one, you say it will be addressed real time. I don't know that you have an answer right now, but I would love by September to have some sort of a actual plan in place that's written down so that it's clear to us as well as clear to the people on the site what that means. If it means everybody stops what they're doing, everything gets sprayed with water, whatever it is that is the process, I'd like us to know what it is as well as the people on site. And I'm going to assume that the 50 feet there was going to be workers inside the 50 feet. So I was a little concerned with the way you described that, you know, that they may or may not have masks or whatever protections, because because they're at risk. And as Betty said, we're concerned about them. They should have protective gear, but we're also very concerned about the neighborhood, because I think Mariama could speak to this more than I can, because I think she's been more involved at a more intricate level. But so many people at Stuyvesant High School became sick from 9/11 related issues, cancers and lung diseases. And their exposure was that day, but it also was the trucks that were driving by with all the debris. And it seemed as if Stuyvesant, you know, bore a brunt of that on a very high level, and
Well,
maybe other
yeah.
people too, but it seems like a very
The debris
young
was being put
population.
on barges
Yes,
right by
yeah,
them.
exactly.
Right, and it was they weren't spraying the trucks the way they should have.
Yeah, they were
Hopefully-
spraying the trucks, but it was not as effective as it should have been.
And
Exactly.
hopefully, I'm hoping that construction methods have been changed and everyone's learned from the experience with the World Trade Center site.
I'm hoping to, and I'm hoping that this committee, as well as the folks that are here listening to us, take this really seriously, because you're talking about people's lives here. And you're talking about parks, you're talking about young children, you're talking about the workers who have to support their families, you're talking about people who live in that neighborhood. So there's a lot at stake here. Thank you.
Yep. I spent 4 months at Ground Zero, so I understand your concerns.
Okay, I think we should wrap it up unless there's an urgent question from someone, either in the public or on the committee. If not, then we are going to talk about a reso, and you said you've been writing down our questions. So as soon as possible, if you get back to us with answers. And then we are also, at some point, you're going to discuss with Lucian whether September or October would be the time to come back. And in the meantime, thank you for giving us your time this evening and answering our questions, and enjoy the rest of the summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
good
you very
evening.
much.
Be well.
Thank you, Mel.
So I'm up?
I'm sorry?
Am I up?
I think you are up, Miriam, unless
Well,
it's,
so
Lucian's-
I think Mariama should go. Our CCL for the Water Street project may have gotten confused and went into the wrong meeting. So I've been trying to communicate with him by email to get him over to the correct meeting. So I expect him to sign up shortly once I kind of help him behind the scenes. So Mariama, just let me know which items you want me to load.
If you could please load the one that I entitled Attention Downtown Residents.
Okay, let me take a look.
And if you see Kimberly Flynn, could you move her over as a panelist in case there's any questions for her? Or that I can't answer, that I would look to her to help me with?
Okay, I'm here. Thank you.
Yay!
It works.
I can begin to read what I've asked Lucian to put up on the screen for everybody, and it's basically a breakdown of specifically who is affected by the upcoming deadlines, July 29th deadline. So some of you may have heard about an upcoming registration deadline for September 11th Victim Compensation Fund. To clear up any confusion, we want to let you know that the July 29th, 2021 deadline only applies to you if you fall into one of these two categories. One, you were certified by the World Trade Center Health Program. So we want to differentiate between the registry, the health program, and the VCF. I know people often get those confused. We're talking if you were certified by the health program, with a 9/11 related condition for a 9/11 related physical health condition, not mental health, physical health condition before July 29th of 2019, but you never registered for the VCF, you must register for the fund by July 29th, 2021. Number two, it applies to you if you fall into this category as well. If you wish to file a claim for an individual who you believe died of a 9/11 related physical health condition before July 29th of 2019. So that means if unfortunately you have a loved one that passed away, on April 1st, it does not apply to of 2019. This does not apply to you. You still have time. But if your loved one passed away before July 29th of 2019, and you believe it was related to a 9/11 physical health condition, you must register them with the VCF by July 29th of this year. Even if the above does not apply to you, however, you should register for the VCF if you haven't done so already. Registering is easy, and you don't have to be sick from a 9/11 condition in order to register. But doing so preserves your right to file a claim in the future should you unfortunately become sick later. So what we also have here are the contact information, or is the contact information rather, for the VCF if you want to register. And we've also sent over to Lucian instruction sheet on how to register with the VCF. If you find it confusing. And all of this is straight from the VCF website. It's not something that we made up or whatever. This is downloaded directly from there. Kimberly also pulled together some of the FAQs and put them on a sheet that Lucian has. So if you go to the website yourself and you feel overwhelmed or confused, these are the forms that we've provided to Lucian. You can ask him for them as well. The last one is the witness presence statement. And there's also a personal affidavit form that they have where we can, now while it's fresh, to the extent that it is 20 years later, write these things down. Get your witnesses, get your neighbors who know that you were here on 9/11 that can verify that while they're still here, while they're still, have a capacity to be able to tell the story, get them to write it down and submit it now. Submit your presence documentation now. Don't wait until, God forbid, you have to file a claim, because by then, we have schools that closed, or that lost records. We have buildings that change management or ownership that can no longer prove that you were here. So if you don't have your own document of those things, and the agency that would have held them doesn't have them anymore either, you're up shit's creek, excuse me. You're screwed. You are. And we don't want that, of course. So a few of us, we did what we could to get the VCF to allow people to submit information in advance. So we really should be taking advantage of it. I'm serious. Any questions for me? I see Mitch.
Yes, should I go?
Yes.
I know you explained it so well. I'm just confused about one thing. If you can go to the first slide where you had number 1 and number 2 as far as what it only applies to.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. And then, so let's say if I did the thing like I registered, but let's say you should, not you personally, but you develop cancer in 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then the fact that you registered with the 855-8855-1555 number,
mm-hmm.
then if you can then you're good to file a claim or
yes. you'd be fine because you've registered already.
Right.
The fund is open till 2090 and you
Right.
have not developed cancer. So if, God forbid you do, you're already registered and the fund's open. So you just proceed with your claim. Now,
And
what you should be paying attention to though, is the part where I said, submit any documentation that you have, presence documentation specifically now, because in 2090, if that's, God forbid, when you get cancer, you may not know where it is or have access to it. You have access to it now. You can prove that you were here on 9/11 now, submit it now.
Okay, now if somebody has like say some cancer, and is taking care of it, and then it and they, because they weren't aware of this, and over the last couple of years, and then it comes back, say like in 10 years, is there like, and then you apply for the first time then, as long as it's if you lived in the area and it's after, and you got it after 9/11, are you covered as long as you registered?
Yes, this does not apply to somebody who would be applying for the first time, in the future and developing a condition for the first time in the future or a new condition in the future. This is for those who have not registered yet.
You know what?
It's not a block though, Marianne.
Mariana,
It's not a block, is his question.
Mariana, that's going to be easier. I just have a couple of questions. I'll contact you offline because they're just specific questions instead of
Okay.
all right. I'll
Feel
contact.
free. Yes, absolutely. Justine?
No, I think what Mitch was asking on that one was if it was blocked because you had cancer, you registered, then you had cancer again, and then you actually put the claim in and processed it. That was his question, but I'll let him deal with it.
Yeah, no, that's closer to what I'm getting at, but so that's something I'm interested in what Justine just said.
Okay, well, I see Kimberly has her hand up, but she may understand better than me.
And then I have questions of my own, but go ahead, Kimberly, if you could answer that, please, that would be great.
To the best of my ability.
Kimberly.
Hi, thank you all for having me. So what you should do.
Can you
okay?
talk a little louder, Kimberly?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me better? Can you hear me better? Yikes. Hello?
Yep, we can.
You can? Okay. So, so first of all, if you believe that your cancer is related to 9/11 exposures, then what you should do is apply for the World Trade Center Health Program.
I didn't hear the last thing you said.
She said you should apply for the World Trade Center Health Program.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate it. So can you guys still?
If you have cancer and you believe it's related to 9/11, that was the other part of her
Yes.
sentence.
Right, but how would you, that's almost, if you believe, okay, I'm gonna have to speak to you offline, Marianne, because.
Please.
Okay,
And also speak to me because.
You can speak to Kimberly at 9/11 EA too. I'll connect you.
Well, no,
Thank you.
speak to both of us because Mariama will answer your questions, but we can help you enroll in the World Trade Center.
Do you have a number, Kimberly?
Yes. It's 917.
Wait, Kimberly, I'm gonna make you say it again. Give me a second, because I gotta give it to somebody.
917.
917.
647.
Yes.
7074.
And you're Kimberly, and what's your last name?
Flynn.
Lynn,
Yes.
a nice Jewish girl.
Honorary. So basically, once you are certified, once your cancer is certified as related to 9/11, so this doesn't mean you don't need to figure out, okay, whether your cancer is linked. If your cancer is on a list, and we can tell you what's on the list, and it's up on the World Trade Center Health Program's website.
Right.
If your cancer is on a list, okay, and that cancer occurred a certain period of time, starting a certain period of time after 9/11, right? Then your cancer is considered linked, and what you need to do is take your pathology report, your medical record, right? And you bring that to the World Trade Center Health Program initial health evaluation, they will certify in all likelihood that that cancer is related to 9/11. Then you have 2 years to register for the VCF. But as Mariama said, and she's so right, just register now. It's really easy. And also,
Well, if I already registered, like the, like my 855 number, that covers that, right?
that's right. You get on that 555 number and you register and they give you an account number, okay? And you want to keep that in a safe place.
Right. A confirmation number. And but the confusion that I'm having, and I'm sorry for being like so like dense. You were certified by the World Trade Health Program.
Yeah.
That.
So
we're suggesting that you register whether you're certified by the health program or not. You said you are registered, right, Mitch?
Yes.
You believe you are. Okay.
Okay.
And may I throw something out to ask my question? So what I've learned, or actually I've had somebody, a friend of mine, who was recently diagnosed, well, the past year with breast cancer. She filed with the VCF. They accepted her claim, and now, a year later, they're writing to her and saying, "But you're not certified."
Right.
So one thing that is really important is that if you are sick beyond registering, you also have to get certified.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, I just did it a different way because I was part of the World Trade Center Health Program before I got sick.
Already, right.
And then when I got sick, I was part of it, and then they processed it.
So the two questions that the two major 9/11 health programs revolve around are, were you there? And are you sick?
Yeah.
So were you there? If you were there, you register.
Yeah.
The VCF, whether you are sick or well. If you are sick, then you apply to the World Trade Center Health Program.
And if you're not sick now, you just wait until, God forbid, something happens and then you do something?
If you're not sick now, you just still register.
Right, I understand that
Register. But Mitch, you also could be part of because the World Trade Center
Health
Program is also a bit of a clinical trial, right? They're collecting data on people, is what I thought. And so that's part of why I did it and had my family do it. And so early on, after 9/11, I was certified. I have a letter for like acid reflux, for GERD, for sinusitis, PTSD, which doesn't matter, which should matter, but it doesn't matter. And then I didn't actually do anything. I filed when they were talking about it. You had to do it at a certain point, and then they extended that deadline. And I was like, I'm fine. This is annoying, but I'm fine. And then I got cancer. And then that's when I actually filed, or I pursued the application for filing. So the answer, Mitch, is if you go and part of the clinical trial, you also could see, and they have a record of what's going on with you too.
Thank you.
Right, they do monitoring. Now, we don't have to answer all the questions. I'm not stifling anybody from asking any questions, but we don't have to answer all the questions tonight. The VCF themselves, as well as the health program, and Congressman Nadler, and Kimberly and 9/11 EA, her staff at 9/11 EA, will all be back in July before the deadline. But we wanted to, with a much more authoritative and comprehensive presentation. But we wanted to, at least begin to give people some clarity as to whether or not they're impacted by this.
Jill here. I'm sorry, but I can't raise my hand because my camera's not working.
Okay.
So, hi everybody, and this
Go
is
ahead.
wonderful, and thank you, Mariama, and thank you, Kimberly. My question is, say you've been diagnosed with GERD by a private doctor, but you haven't, for whatever reason, been, applied to the health program. Is there a deadline on the health program registration from your diagnosis?
So there is no deadline to go to the health program. The health program is going to be open until 2090. But here's the important piece of this, Jill. They have guidelines, okay, that govern whether or not they will certify a condition like GERD or a breathing issue, for instance, as related to 9/11. And so it's very, very important for you to provide information to the health program about when your symptoms started, when the GERD started, when any breathing issues started, when any sinusitis, or as Justine said, you know, she had a great list, and the PTSD as well. It's just real, and we tell people it's no fun, but take a walk down memory lane and try to remember when you first started to have those symptoms, because that turns out to be important information on whether or not the program considers those problems as related to 9/11 exposure.
Okay, and without the certification from the program, you won't be able to file a claim with the VCF, is that correct?
Yeah, without a certification for a physical health illness, right? Yeah, you don't get to file a VCF claim. We do encourage people, even if it's just GERD or sinusitis, go ahead, you know, there is compensation for pain and suffering due to these, what they call aerodigestive conditions. You don't have to have cancer in order for it to be worth your while to file a claim with the VCF.
Thank you.
And I want to say one more thing, because there's a group of people out there, and we'll never reach them all, for whom this deadline is very, very important. There are people whose loved ones have died as a result of a cancer that is deemed related to 9/11 exposures. They may have developed this cancer in 2005. They may have died in 2006, for instance, long before the whole list of cancers was added to the list by the World Trade Center Health Program. These are the cancers that are linked. These are the cancers that are covered. These are the cancers for which the VCF provides compensation. So those people are out there, and this July 29 deadline is important for them. If you know of anybody that you think has lost a loved one long before they could have known that that cancer was related, please get in touch with them and tell them to call that 855 number. And if they have other questions, you know, they can call me. Again, we're not, you know, we are outreach partners for the World Trade Center Health Program, but we do know the basics around the VCF. And, you know, we can help point people in the right direction. So, you know, if they can register by July 29, then they won't get an obnoxious letter in the future. And we know that people on Community Board 1 have received this letter, you know, about 3 years ago, maybe, a letter called Denial of Eligibility Due to Lack of Timeliness. And people got that letter and they were justifiably outraged and freaked out, and they were told that they needed, in order to establish their eligibility, they needed to have a hearing with the VCF. So the grace period that's been established that ends on July 29 is a lot easier route to go, right? Just go on the website, call the phone number, and register. If you don't do that, the door does not close, but it means in all likelihood that there will need to be a hearing. And again, it's not a court hearing. It's a hearing where you and your witness answer questions, speak to the staff attorneys of the VCF, okay? But but it's still intimidating, right? I mean, they don't want it to be intimidating, but hey, I'd find it intimidating. So that's the kind of, experience that the VCF is hoping to enable people to skip. But again, if you don't make the deadline, there still is a path forward. It's just a more effortful path.
I'm going to ask that if there isn't anyone else with any other questions, that we see if our final presenter is here. Any other questions from the committee? Mhm.
Pat, I just want everyone to know that we send the VCF information out as part of our newsletter every week, and we will continue doing so until this window closes. So for anyone who is looking for information about this, if you get the newsletter, just forward it to them, and that should have all the links and documents. So that's a resource that everyone should have.
Now, I'm going to see if maybe the Gateway Plaza Tenants Association will circulate that.
Great.
Yeah.
Mariama, thank you. Kimberly, it's always good to hear your voice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so since someone else is timed up to tell us they have any questions, we're going to move on to our last presenter.
So our last presenter is Scott Payne. Scott, I'm unmuting you. Can you hear? Can you speak? So we
Yes. Can everybody hear me?
Perfect.
Hi, Scott. Welcome.
Hi. How are you?
Well, thank you. Hope you're well tonight.
Yes, I am. Would you like me to start?
Sure. Go right ahead.
Okay. Well, first, I'd like to start by saying how excited I am to be working alongside of all of you on behalf of EDC for the Water Street Corridor Streetscape Improvement Project. This project is slated to help improve pedestrian safety and circulation on Water Street between Maiden Lane and Whitehall Street. We will be installing pedestrian and traffic safety measures and reconstruct Whitehall Plaza, Puente Slip, and Moore Street between Water and Pearl Streets. This will also include the widening of sidewalks, provide landscaping, installation of bus bulbs, and provide full depth reconstruction of Moore Street, along with utility modifications, of course. JPL is the general contractor for the project. Currently, our typical work hours are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. We're allowed to work 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., but currently we'll just be finishing around 3:30 p.m. Night work, in the event of a water shutdown, we'll be working from 9 p.m. To 5 a.m. Monday through Friday. Officially, we broke ground on May 19th by digging test pits, and we've encountered a lot of utility interference, specifically with Con Edison. So unfortunately, we don't have a schedule as to when we're gonna start the city work, but when we do start, we'll be looking to first put in the water main, start the water main installation, which will follow with catch basin installation. And that's pretty much the scope of the work. The majority of the project is more of a beautification plan of the area. Like I said, there will be some water main and sewer work, but the majority of it will be the widening of sidewalks. Like I said, the plazas, the new plazas, the bus bulbs, and the major reconstruction of Moore Street. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions? Can you hear me?
Everybody's quiet? No. No.
Are any streets going to be closed?
So currently, we don't have any scheduling street closures at this time. But when we will be working in the street, we have to maintain 1 lane as per DOT steps. But in the event that we have to do a street closure in the future, I'll definitely send out an advisory and let you guys know well in advance when that will be taking place. But currently, no, we don't have any full road closures in the near future.
And the widening the sidewalk, is that going to take away any traffic lanes?
Yeah, so it will extend. No, so it will extend into the roadway, but the amount of lanes will remain the same.
What about parking?
So
there now?
I'm sorry. So yes, where the sidewalks will be bumping out, parking will be taken away.
How much?
I can look into that and get back to you. I don't have the amount of parking spaces that will be taken away, but I can get back to you. If you leave your information with me, I can definitely report back to you.
Bring it to the chair and the district manager. And what is the curbside parking regulations there now that's going to be taken away?
So it varies. There's unloading and unloading parking regulations. There's there's some metering parking for city agencies. So it varies along the strip.
What's the purpose of expanding the sidewalk? I mean, it seems like it's not okay now over there. I don't see that as a problem.
Right. Well, I mean, the purpose is to add a little bit more safety. You're going to have a lot more people utilizing these plazas. So it's to help calm traffic in a way, and provide pedestrians, like I said, with just feeling more safe by walking around these new plazas and the traffic.
Do you think it's possible, will you come first of all to next time, which will be September?
Okay.
And do you think it's possible to bring those slides? We had a presentation, I don't know, I don't remember how long ago it was, but we had a presentation with slides. Mark, I don't know if you were there at that meeting, that showed the design concept for the plaza.
Yes.
And what the bus bulbs and the street widening. Is it possible to bring those slides with you in September to just?
Sure, that won't be a problem. And let me just add, EDC, we're working on having a final outreach meeting where we'll be inviting all of the stakeholders and constituents and residents in the community to come and see what the final plan is. That date remains to be seen. We're looking at maybe something at the end of this month, but again, as I'll let you guys know as soon as I find out more details. But there will be a final outreach forum concerning the project where we will be we will be displaying those slides as well. But definitely, I can bring that again at the September meeting if you like.
That would be great.
So what stage are we at here? Are we at the fait accompli stage where we're just seeing it and then we have no option to say, can you change this?
No, well, it will be a Q&A forum, so you definitely will have input at that meeting.
But is there if can things be changed at this point?
I mean, personally, I can't speak to that right now, but the design is completed. But be my guest to bring up any concerns that you may have with my colleagues at EDC at that meeting.
So once
Mark,
again,
as I
we have
understand it, this project has been this.
We can't.
I believe that
comment
I believe there was community engagement years ago. This is a project that procurement was delayed by the coronavirus and should have been done by now if the pandemic hadn't happened. So
and that's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
I remember
very old.
when such a long period in between. I mean, things change, attitudes change, new people move in, there's new businesses. Just because was designed, several years ago, doesn't mean it applies now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm not at,
And-
I'm not at liberty to say what can be changed or what can't be. But again, all the, EDC representatives will be there as well as I. And you can
Who is?
definitely, I'm sorry,
Who
go
is
ahead.
who is at liberty to say what can be changed if we want something changed?
So the EDC reps that will be in attendance will be Steve Nelson and Will Fisher from EDC.
All right, so can you also forward that information to the district manager, please? Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
All right, so unless there's anything else,
I
we
have
will
my
see
hand
you-
up.
Oh, I'm sorry, can't see. Who is that, Jill?
No, Diane.
Diane. Hi, Diane. Go for it.
I had my hand up in the chat. My concern is that you said the sidewalks are going to be widened. Is there going to be? I'm concerned about the bicycles riding on the sidewalk and and what can be done to protect pedestrians from the bicyclists.
Okay. Okay, I'm making notation of that. And yes, we can.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Diane, that's illegal for the bikes to be riding on the sidewalk. And so it really comes down
That
to
doesn't stop.
Right. So it's city, it's a citywide problem, and it's down to the police to enforce that. I've watched bicyclists ride by police officers and they don't say a thing.
Well, Pat, is somebody from, like, when they widen the street, is there going to be some like customer service? Like, sometimes they have people from that group where they kind of patrol the plaza. And if they have somebody like that, then, it's kind of like a bouncer at a club where that person could maybe, like, politely enforce those type of things.
Well, I jumped in. Let's let Scott address it.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if they're going to have, like you said, a police presence or somebody, to address those issues.
Wait,
but
plus-
Go ahead.
No, you continue. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no, it's fine. Yes, I will also bring that question back to EDC as well.
Yeah, like in around Grand Central, like a station outside, like where they kind of made like Park Avenue and 42nd, a little plaza. They have someone who's like those plaza personnel, and so that might be a suggestion that could address Diane's concern and our concern and make it even more pleasant.
Okay, I will definitely bring that back to them.
Anyone else have their hand raised and I can't see? Anyone from the public, Lucian?
Let me take a look. I'm not seeing any hands.
Okay. Scott, thank you.
Oh, no problem. And again, as soon as I find out that date for the final meeting, I will let you guys know.
Yeah, hold on. I think Lucian, did you want to say something else?
Yeah, I want to encourage all of our members, especially those who either live in the financial district, Seaport area, just anyone who's like remotely close to Water Street. Definitely sign up. Send an email to Water Street CCL. That's waterstccl@gmail.com. So Scott can put you on the information blast, let you know when there's street closures, let you know when there's anything else going on. That way, you get the information directly. For all projects with the CCL, I don't recreate the wheel. That people who want to know about what's going on get their information directly from the CCL. So this is a great opportunity to do that.
Yes.
You won't be surprised. EDC specifically told me that they wanted Scott for this project because they worked with him successfully in other projects in the past. So I have a lot of faith that Scott's going to do a great job in being a good communicator. But we have to let him communicate to us. So I'm plugged in. I encourage everyone else to do so as well.
Thank you very much. And again, I'm taking down these questions, and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible with them, Lucian.
Scott, thank you again. And
No
enjoy the
problem.
rest of the summer. And we'll
Thank
see you
you.
in September.
You as well. I'll see you soon.
Although we may see you at the meeting you said is going to happen.
Yes, yes. I hope to
shortly.
see
Right.
all of you guys there.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for giving us some time this evening.
No
Be
problem. Have a
well.
good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, so I always ask any other topics that the committee would like to raise, and any topics that the committee would like to put on the agenda. Next month.
This, I'm only speaking because you said you can't see the hands. I had mentioned, well, it's too late now, but I had mentioned last month about, if we can put on the agenda the increase in dog poop that we've been seeing in like all over on the streets. And
Yes, I have seen that.
that might be for something that, for another month. Then the other thing I just wanted to mention, maybe Lucy could make a note, and I always forget her name. We joked, we used to call her the rat lady, the person that came, to our meetings, The other night around 12:45 a.m., there was a rat party on the A train by the Chambers Street entrance, not on the train level, but when you walk down the stairs, the mezzanine level where the MetroCard machines are. There was at least 5 or 6 rats just like having a party right there.
Great.
Mitch, send me an
With your
email.
pizza?
I was just thinking about the pizza.
Mitch, send me an email with the location. I'll send it right to the MTA.
It was right.
The person you're.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the person you're thinking of is Caroline Bragdon from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene.
But also, Ferrara. I don't know why I'm forgetting her first name. From DOH.
Pauline Ferranti is like our rep from DOHMH, but the Rat
She's the
Maven
one who came in and gave us
is
the
Caroline
presentation on
Bragdon.
the dry ice.
Yes, that's right. That's right. But yeah, Mitch, I'll send whatever you send me right to the MTA to work on the rat party, the secret of NIM on the A train.
Yeah. Sure.
We want to talk about rats anyway at some point.
Pat, it's hard to
because,
hear you.
You can't hear me?
Now I do.
Oh, we want to talk about rats again anyway. Lucian and I were having a lovely rat discussion about the stall site on my block where I get to watch the rats run back and forth across the street. So we wanted to talk about stalled sites and the rat problem. And Scott, are you still here? Did you want to say something?
Yes, I'm here.
Did you?
No, I'm just
I saw
listening.
you. Oh, okay. Our rat conversation is one of the topics we love. But so any other topics that committee members?
Pat?
Yeah.
Diane
Yes.
again.
Hi, Diane.
One of a couple of neighbors have complained about BMCC seems to be running some kind of air conditioning system, and it's runs
yeah,
24
you
hours a
wrote-
day. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't gotten any feedback from. I've gotten verbal feedback, but I don't have complaints except for the one person who brought it up, and he sent a video of. I mean, I could try to follow up and see if there are more
do you
people.
remember the email from Diane about this? Any traction on that?
I'll let you know as soon as I get some traction. But Diane, yes, I
Yeah.
saw the email.
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a way to from 311, like other complaint, like similar complaint numbers. I don't, because I don't know
Well,
everybody.
tell
and I
you,
can, I'll ask him if he can get the information from other.
And if you could put a notice up in your elevator or your community room or something so that other neighbors, if they're having a similar issue, can call in 311, make the complaint, get the complaint number, call Lucian with a complaint number, the procedure.
Yeah.
That would be helpful. It's always better to have numbers as opposed to one person complaining
Right.
about an issue.
Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, real quick, I think that's a very timely conversation about how to find out who's calling 311 about what, especially if it's in your community. And I think that if you all wanted to, in one of these upcoming months, I can give a presentation about how best to access and visualize the open data around 311 through BoardStat, which I put a link in the chat. So it's a great way to it's a tool that when I was at the borough president's office as the tech advisor to Gail, I worked with Beta NYC to create a kind of like a package service, a wrapper rather, to take the stream of open data around 311 calls and
Mimi will love
make
this.
it kind of auto visualize by community board. So you can kind of look at community board 1 and then filter through the different types of complaint categories. You can filter by address to see what buildings are complaining about what. You can play with the timeline to be a narrow date or since the beginning of 311 in 2010. So it's a pretty cool tool, and
Would
you can
you-
really kind of yeah. And so I can go over that. I think I gave a presentation on it a long time ago when I first started,
Yeah.
but
Could you
I think it's
please-
ripe for re-exploration.
Could you please send it in the, people like myself, the chat is challenging. Could you please send it in an email?
Yeah, I'll send it right. Yeah, I'll send it as a follow-up to the email with the
Thank you.
CCRB
Thank
stuff.
you. Okay, so next month, and Mariama and I have to talk, but next month, Jill has brought up, we want to have a conversation about World Trade Center number 5 and the affordable. I mean, I don't know exactly what the conversation is going to entail just yet, but we want to talk about the affordable component of World Trade Center number 5. And, as I've said to Jill, we don't have any financials or any of that stuff yet. And the design is not complete. Everything is a placeholder, but we can have a quick conversation or however long it takes a conversation about World Trade Center number 5. So Lucian and Mariama and Jill and I will get that together. We don't meet in August. Do we have any new members on our committee, Lucian? That you know of?
Committee assignments have not yet been made.
Okay, so we
you
don't
will
know
see
yet. We
all the
might-
new members at full board.
Okay, so we have quite a few new members coming on to CB1, and hopefully we'll get 1, maybe 2 in our committee. We'll see. So, and now, that most of us are vaccinated, I'm looking forward to, even if we continue to have meetings online, that maybe we'll get together and have a drink, which would be nice. Also, there's going to be National Night Out with the First Precinct, and that information will be coming to you guys sometime soon. So again, if there are any questions, if there's any information that you want to relay to us, please send it to Lucian. If you have any other topics that you want to go on the agenda, please let us know. So next month, there'll be the VCF. Mariama, right? They're going to come. Is Mariama still with us?
Yes, they are confirmed to come.
Right. Okay.
And then Pat, did you all want to work on a resolution over this
Oh.
month to present next month on the
we
work of BBJ?
You mean what Tammy just suggested we write?
Yeah, did you do that tonight, or are you going to work on
BBJ,
something
I
next?
assume borough-based jails.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to do that tonight? It's getting late. It's 9
Yeah,
o'clock.
we can work on it over the next month and then vote. You can just vote on the draft resolution at the next meeting.
Okay. And so if anyone has anything they want to talk about, add to a reso about the borough-based jails or BBJ, please send the email to Lucia. Okay. Anybody want to say anything else?
I just have one
If not-
question. Yes. Would you guys be able to send me the contact info for, say, like the NYPD, the fire department, elected officials, reps that attend this meeting? Would that be possible?
Scott, this is what I'm going to do is we're going
Okay.
to make sure that you get invited to our district service cabinet where
Okay.
we all the CCLs and the fire, NYPD, we all get on the same meeting and we work out a lot of the stuff that comes up in quality of life committee meetings.
Okay.
And that's how we kind of coordinate everything all in one shot. So I'm going to put you onto that meeting. You'll get an email about it tomorrow, and then you'll get access to everybody that way. But it's Tuesday at 11, and it's a closed meeting.
Oh, that would be great. I'd really appreciate it.
And Lucian, could you unmute Mariama, please?
Okay.
Mariama?
Mariama, you're unmuted now.
You there? Mariama?
Mariama?
She there? I'm just
Wait,
gonna
hold on.
text
There's
her.
another Mariama in the attendees section.
She said, I'm still
Mariama,
muted.
I moved over another
Yes,
Mariama.
now. Yes, I had to move to my phone.
Okay, there
Okay.
you go.
I wasn't
Okay.
ignoring you, Pat. I just,
Phew.
I couldn't unmute. That's all I was saying.
So Mariama, we'll have a discussion with Jill and Lucian about the World Trade Center number 5. And your VCF is confirmed to come for next month, and
They
then
are
any other
confirmed
topics.
for July
that-
15th.
Okay, so any other topics? So in the meantime, I guess we're gonna call it a wrap.
I
Unless
see
anyone
a
has
hand raised in the chat. Taylor Banning has her hand up.
Oh, Taylor has a hand up. Can you unmute Taylor?
Sure. I just sent off that email, everyone, with the link to BoardStat. So you should be getting that
Oh, great,
in
thank
your
you.
inbox soon. Taylor, you're unmuted.
Thank you. I just had ideas about topics, though I'm excited to talk about affordability. And I'm just mentioning there's a coalition forming around affordability, and I know a lot of community members have signed on and would love to talk about this. So thank you for having that next month. And then the other question I had about topic was, I don't know if we ever finished the conversation in QOL, but Lucian, you had been bringing over a number of QOLs, a conversation about explaining and understanding the list of reforms, police reforms that took place at the city council. And we had all talked about various peoples who could speak on it to help us understand those reforms better, and who better than the leading advocates over the past decades for those exact reforms, whether they came the way they wanted them fully or what was missing or what was different. I'd love to hear from them. So I just want to know if we were bringing that back so we could keep learning about it and talking about it. Thank you.
Right, we'll put that on the list, and then we can discuss that. So I'm gonna write that down.
And Pat, Taylor just made me think of something, so if I can speak when you're ready.
Go ahead.
So coming up, I believe it's on June 16th, is the Manhattan version of the discussion on the proposed, Lucian, help me out here, the rent, not the rent, the proposed, the proposals by the Mayor's Commission on property tax reform. And I'm looking for it in my phone to find it.
That's right.
Is that right? And so that's coming up at 6 o'clock, and people can attend that. And I think that we should try to make an effort to try to get there. And
Can you send us the information, and then we can send it out to everybody?
yes, once I find, and Lucian, you have it because you sent it to me. I just have to find it.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe it's something we all got. I don't remember seeing it, but we might have.
Yeah, I don't
gotten
remember if it was a total thing, but it was definitely to me.
Pat, and listen, can I mention something after about the rent relief program?
I'm
Go for it.
Okay, so remember we had the elected official on like the last time mentioning this. If we can have the elected official back, I think it was from Kavanaugh's office. I'm not sure. I think she was saying that she was going to be moving on, but I just got an email, like I had started the application and it says that you can, like save it and everything. So I just got an email from them saying, dear applicant, thank you for starting an application, blah, 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 for the emergency rental assistance program. You are getting the email because you started, but did not finish it. If you started more than one application, you only need to blah, blah. But then in the next paragraph, the website feature that allows people to save and continue an application at another time is currently not available. We regret this inconvenience, blah, 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 blah. So let me get back to you now. Okay, so there's a glitch in the system, which is almost like the same thing that happened in the beginning of the PUA when it took certain elected officials and certain complaints to go in there. So if we can just maybe like make the the representatives that are dealing with this, whether it's Kavanaugh's office or anything, just to aware that there's a glitch in the system, because they're saying in the email I just got to start another application, but I have there's no mechanism to erase the previous one that I didn't finish because that mechanism is broken.
In other words, can you go back in and complete your application?
No, it says the exact word is the website feature, and this is from the program, the ERAP program, the website feature that allows people to save and continue an application at another time is currently not available. We regret this inconvenience and want you to know you can still apply. Please go to the website, start a new application from the beginning, but you won't be able to save it, so you have to have all the documents, blah, blah, blah. But my information.
That's the same with the borough president. Remember when we reapply, you can't stop in the middle of the application.
Right, but that's not how it was when they first sent it out. But the thing is, now, my name is still the same, my address is still the same, so I can't erase that, but I have to put the same information for a new application. So,
well, let me ask you a question. Did they send you a contact person on the email?
No, they just gave the general number, like any questions, the general. So I'm just saying that this is something to make the elected officials aware of, because they were very helpful, especially Kavanaugh's office and Yuling News office were super helpful when there were these glitches in the PUA in the very beginning. So
would you just send a quick email, please?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to contact them directly, but I just wanted to, in case anybody else applied and had a.
Well, then listen, if you contact them directly, would you let the rest of us know what the end result is?
Sure.
Thank you, Mitch. Okay. All right. I'm gonna assume.
One more thing.
Okay, wait. Cora, you still there? Who just said Pat?
Mariama.
That's me, Mariama.
Oh, hi, Mariama. Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, so just like as we talked about on the phone, if anything comes up for DHS, the community will want us to put that on the agenda as well. There was another level 3 sex offender added to Water Street, and this one appeared to be on parole. A bunch of people called into 311. I hope that they sent Lucian the numbers, the report numbers. But so there were some questions about that, and of course now.
What's it? Where were they? Where are they, Mariama? What's the address?
Six Water.
Six
So
Water.
there previously been some level 2 and 3 offenders there, but those were all.
Mariama, I can't hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Maybe maybe a little better. Go ahead.
Okay. There were previously some level 2 and 3 offenders there before, but those all appeared to be done with their parole. So they were there legitimately. This most recently added resident seems to still be on parole. And so when one of the parents called 311, they were told that DHS actually has discretion as to whether or not they allow somebody that's on parole to be around. We were told previously that they couldn't be within 1,000 feet of a school, a level 3 sex offender. So people are up, in an uproar about that. And then there's also with the appeals court decision with regard to the Lucerne.
Well, that
it doesn't make sense to move people there. So people are like, well, why now if the city's reopening? Right. But if there's any kind of update, the neighbors will definitely, want to hear that.
Yeah. Two things. While I'm going to say something, Lucia, can you unmute Cora, please? Okay. So Miriam, I think I had got back to you about the judge's decision about the Lucerne. If everyone is following that, you may have heard that the judge overturned the the residents had their own case and they did not want to be moved down to 52 William Street. Well, recently the judge overturned, I don't think there was a decision. I think it was on hold while the judge reviewed. So the judge has now said that the city has the right to move the residents down to 52 William Street. Now, a couple of things. A lot of the residents that didn't want to be moved have found permanent housing and so no longer are part of that establishment. They're not living at the Lucerne. And number two, with COVID, I don't want to say COVID is over because it isn't, but with the city reopening, remember that a lot of people were moved from their permanent shelter to temporary shelters to de-densify the populations because of COVID, to maintain, the 6 foot rule. And anyway, so I had an email out to DHS. It's, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, right, Lucian? I sent it out or something. I still have not heard back from them. I have
Right.
sent 2 reminders and requests to answer all of our questions, one of which was about what was going on with the gentleman at the Lucerne, another was what was going on with their COVID program, their vaccination program. And I forgot what else I had asked, but I'm still trying to get an answer from them. So as soon as we get some information, I'll come back to everybody with that. Okay. Miriam, did that answer everything you had to say?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And then Cora, are you unmuted?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Want
Go,
to let you know, Mitch, if you have that glitch, it's important that it's under the state home HCR, home and communal renewal, home and community renewal department at the state. So you can also send it to me, and then I can forward it to the state person right away. So no further other sufferings from other applicants.
Thank you.
Yeah, just want you to know. Thank you.
Shay.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else? Anything else? If not, we're gonna officially end this. Anything? Last chance. Speak now.
No, that's it. I did email you that information. It was Cora who sent it to me. So I emailed it, the link. So Lucian, I sent it to you, to Pat, and to Mariama. So maybe if you
Great,
share it
thank
with the
you.
committee, I think people might want to know. Betty certainly would be interested in Bob.
I think I
Anybody
found
else?
it on the internet, and everyone should have it in their inbox soon.
And as a reminder, it was the property tax reform. You guys were struggling, trying to understand it. That was last month.
Right.
It was about
Yes.
hearings for the Brooklyn people. Now it's the chance for the Manhattan homeowners to speak up.
And it's June 16th,
great.
Wednesday at 6 p.m. and it's a Zoom hearing.
There's a very
Okay, great.
specific requirements. If you do want to speak, you have to register 24 hours in advance. You
Yeah.
may also send in your comments in writing, but look at the specific requirements, how you can do that so your voice can be registered in their record.
Yep.
Pat, just Taylor Banning has her hand up, so I want to make sure that
Yeah.
we
Is
get to her
that
before.
a new one or is it from before?
We'll find out.
Taylor?
Taylor?
It's from before, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Oh.
Appreciate it.
You're trying to fool us, Taylor. All right. So again, speak now. Hold your peace.
Thank you.
Okay. I love this committee. Thank you all for being so engaged as always, asking great questions, being very smart. I learn a lot from you all. And we will see one another at the full board. And if anything comes up, shoot some emails around. But again, let's think about having drinks. Everybody have a
Good
good
idea.
night.
All right. Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Stay cool.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Good night, Pat.
Thanks.